Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
Very thankful for 12th man. They've won us games.
Been in college baseball for a while now, but I've never experienced anything like 12th man.
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
Our skill set worked great together. Like, he was more speed and I was more power, and then we put together, it was like thunder and lightning, you know.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Words can only tell you so much, right? But one of the cool things about watching these press conferences recently and attending them is seeing personalities and like just how thoughtful certain young men are. And we're going to talk about some of the impressions that we got from yesterday's scrum, if you will, press conference. It's TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. The Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Today is Friday, August the 9th, 2024. David Nuño and the Olin Buchanan. Like the Ohio State, the Olin Buchanan.
The one and only, and I know a lot of people are happy about that.
How's that chest hair doing, bro?
It's
open. You're letting those babies breathe.
I cannot contain the masculinity. It just keeps breaking out, you know. I agree about those guys they had yesterday at the press conference. Will Lee, Nick Scorton, Nana. I don't want to try to say his...
Bodie Owosu?
Yeah, I don't want
to... Does that sound right?
Yeah.
Bodie Owosu?
Really, Will Lee struck me as being really, really smart.
Yeah.
With a lot of charisma.
And super, like... There was a confidence to the way he answered things, but not like a cocky, right? Like, just like... He's
the guy that doesn't have to be.
Right.
Because he knows he's good. And then Scorton is just...
He's fun.
He's fun. That's a
fun
great
and
way
good.
to put it. Yeah.
That could be his hat. Fun with the letter N.
Yeah.
Good. Fun and good. Fun and great, hopefully.
Yeah, and just, you know, I think he's enjoying being back home and everything that's coming with that, you know. Seems very honest.
Yeah.
And then Nana, you know, I mean, there's another guy you can tell is really smart. Of course, he talked about how there really wasn't a choice in his house.
Yeah,
but how his parents stressed the academics and reading so many books, and then they weren't even supportive at first of football. You know, he had to convince them, and then obviously they're convinced because mom cried when she found out he was the 12th man, and understanding what that is. So,
should they do the na 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 every time he makes a big play?
Maybe.
Come on, let's start it.
Goodbye, na na na, goodbye
to the person he dominates.
So, you know, sometimes you can interview some guys and you just hope they're good, right, and everything, but you don't really get a feel for the kind of people they are.
Right.
Now, that said, you can never base
nothing
what you think of somebody on a 10 to 15-minute interview.
Or a quick soundbite, right? You can't.
Right, but they struck me as being, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am, they just struck me as being very genuine, good dudes.
So remember, I put Will Lee in the Tony Grimes category of optimism in August. Hold on.
Yeah, in August. Okay.
Yeah, because I remember thinking, but I don't even think Tony Grimes spoke, like, ever. Yeah. I don't remember him. Maybe he did once, but I don't remember him speaking. But I remember the optimism of getting a guy who had started in the ACC and thinking, all right, this is an upgrade, right? The difference is we didn't see it.
Yeah, we didn't see anything. Did he ever step foot on?
I don't remember ever seeing him. Okay. But Will Lee comes with great credentials. I've seen him at the podium now, right? I've seen him at practice. I see his size. Everything about him screams, this is exactly what we needed. Exactly.
I agree wholeheartedly. Now, hopefully he'll play to the level that his, he'll be the blanket.
Yep.
But I think you're right on. You know, we had so much hope and anticipation for Tony Grimes, and it's like trying to get the ketchup out of the bottle.
Why is it so hard sometimes?
I guess because you just don't know where to hit it right. But you're supposed to hit it right there. I found out right on the label.
You're supposed to,
yeah,
right there,
of the bottle. And Will Lee is a guy that. He said, at least he's practicing. At least he's talking. By the way,
but there's more. He projects a different kind of energy.
And let me say this too: have we interviewed more guys already than we did all of last year? I mean, the same guys over and over because I think
there was like 6.
Yeah, I think there was this. Hey, we're going to put the guys that we can trust not to say something that we don't like out there.
All it takes is a little media training or trusting your guys.
Yeah.
Either way. The other thing
how about just let the guys be themselves? How about that? Dudes. How crazy would that be?
What are dudes being dudes?
Yeah.
Your boy?
Who's that?
Wasn't it Adagio saying that? Who said that last year? Just dudes being
dudes.
It
wasn't last year, but he put it when he was the head coach at Boston College.
That's right.
That's just guys being dudes.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Dudes being dudes.
Thank you, Nick. My favorite Nick. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe the other one. Maybe the Scorton.
I thought your favorite Nick would be Nick Fury.
That's not a bad one, but no, he's not my favorite.
Okay.
Definitely not Nick Wright from Fox Sports.
Okay.
I know him. He's a nice guy, actually. No, I think it's Nick Savage.
Nick Savage, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there any other Nicks?
Oh, well,
Nicolas Cage?
It's not Nick Saban, that's for sure.
No, it's not Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage is pretty high up there, though.
I always remember writing someone's recruiting class had more 2 stars than a Nicolas Cage film festival.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what I think of Nicolas Cage. And then he did Leaving Las Vegas, I think it was, or something.
I don't like depressing movies.
And won, but he won. Didn't he win an Academy Award?
He was either won or I think he got nominated. I don't. How about this?
Okay,
let's go back to Nick Scorton for a quick moment.
Nick Scorton,
that Nick. Okay,
who's going to win a lot of awards.
So I think I knew this, but then yesterday was like oh, that's right, he did that when he went to Dallas and he worked with Vaughn. He worked with Miles and other NFL dudes, and just like living their lifestyle, how they train, how they eat, describing the 2 personalities of Miles being a little bit more reserved and Vaughn just being funny, but both equally great, both being Superman, as he called it.
Yeah.
And, but they're just like me. They do the same things that I do. It was kind of cool to hear his perspective of that.
Well, I just hope that he demonstrates that he belongs in that discussion of great A&M pass rushers. And that discussion starts with Vaughn and Miles. Mm-hmm. I hope he proves he belongs in there. Belongs in there like he did in the weight room.
Yeah, 100%. I want to bring something else up. A couple different things. Here's the phone. By the way, this is Coffee Talk presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of mornings by going to texags.com/coffee. And let's give away a free coffee, shall we?
Yeah, let's do.
What number should we do?
How about number 11 for Nick Scorton?
Number 11, the 11th texter at 979-693-1150. You text in the word coffee. You'll get yourself a free bag of TexAgs coffee. All right, so I watched a little bit of a video. Saturday Down South had a video, and that's part of my morning routine is I check all the sites.
Okay.
ESPN, CBS, Saturday Down South. I just check just to see what's out there, opinions, stories that I may have missed. And they had, and it was it talked about some things that he was predicting. It was our buddy Connor O'Gara. And he predicts A&M will be agents of chaos this year. Okay? And that's a good word for this defense, but agents of chaos. But I don't know if you're going to like what he says. Okay? He expects 2 wins over top 10 teams.
Okay.
And those teams being LSU and Mizzou.
All right.
But losses on the road at Florida and South Carolina.
Okay.
I can see that world. I don't want to see that world. But I can see that world. But I don't want to see that world. I just repeated myself.
Boy, there sure is a lot of optimism about Florida, a team that went 5-7, looked terrible doing it, lost their leading rusher, left of Georgia. Another one, leading pass rusher,
left
went
for
to Ole Miss. Okay, a couple of guys that were starting defensive players came to Texas A&M.
Yep.
I know Graham Mertz got better last year. And, by the way, they lost a wide receiver who was a first-round draft choice, Ricky Pearsall. Boy, now I know they have I'd have to look up his name right now, but they got another receiver coming back that's really good. And the Martrell Johnson at running back, he's still solid, but sure seems like there's an awful lot of faith in Graham Mertz.
Yeah, and the other loss, South Carolina, because it's going to be a night game. It's going to be it's not an easy place to play, as we know. I'm not predicting that at all.
No, I'm not either.
The streak ends this year on the road. 100% it ends.
I believe
100%. Take it to the bank.
Yeah,
and it may end in September.
Look, here's the deal. Especially on the road, if you're not ready to play in the SEC, you can lose anywhere. And we go back to the one time in 10 years A&M lost in Columbia, South Carolina. They clearly weren't ready to play, and they were down 17-0 before, and still almost came back and pulled it out.
Oh, and when Connor came in, it felt different.
Well, if they would have started Connor, they'd have won that game.
They won the game, yeah.
But, once again, Jimbo thought having a 2 weeks of getting ready, I guess, wasn't enough. They needed 3 weeks because he started the next
Thursday,
week.
So that was nice.
Yeah. That's a discussion for later, obviously.
Yeah, so, okay, if that's what he thinks, I do think we're going to be some top 10 teams this year. And I think we're going to win on the road. So how many do we win on the road? I don't know, but I think there's a very winnable road schedule.
Yeah, I guess I need to do more research on Florida, why there's so much optimism there.
At 8:35, I'm going to come back to Florida because I have a topic that I want you to chew on for a little bit. Other thing I want to talk about. So a couple different sites have the top 10 transfers. ESPN came out with it, and so did USA Today. And you can imagine who who somebody from A&M was on that list for both ESPN and for USA Today.
Well, Scorton.
Nick Scorton. I'll read you what it says about Nick Scorton on USA Today. Scorton led the Big Ten in sacks, quarterback pressures. So you want a transfer like that. Mike Elko's defense at A&M should love this pass rusher. Scorton's a potential first-round pick in the 25 draft and could really break out in SEC play. Also, and I believe it was Chris Lowe who wrote this. He says, originally from Bryan, Texas, Scorton returns home for his junior season after leading the Big Ten in sacks a year ago with 10. 6'4", 280. Scorton will have the skill set to wreak havoc on SEC quarterbacks the way he did in the Big Ten, and is more than just a pass rusher. He's a high-energy player on every play.
Yeah, and I asked him about this a little bit yesterday. What I think is really important is that, and I believe this to be true, maybe Tom Dienhart up in Purdue can tell me I'm wrong, but I believe when an offensive line came to the line of scrimmage, they'd look at Nick Scorton and say, that's the guy you have to double team, and maybe everybody else will still look at that. But I think they said, we double team and we're okay because there's nobody else that you really worry about it.
Right.
But Shamar Stewart and Shamar Turner and David Hicks and Cassius Howell, those are going to be some guys that are going to
go ahead, double, please.
Going to take some of your
knowing what we know about
off.
Shamar Stewart, he's going to take that as an insult that he wasn't double teamed, right? Like, oh, you think you have to double team him and not me? Okay, take that.
Well, you know what I also really love is the matchup of a one-on-one matchup of Shamar Turner on a guard.
Yep. Now, I've seen a lot of people predict, and I'm not saying it's not going to be, but a lot of people are predicting A&M Notre Dame to be a super tight game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Notre Dame has got, the ranking. They don't play an SEC schedule, but I was talking to an SEC insider yesterday. John Bryce. They do actually pretty well against the SEC overall, but coming to Kyle Field is a different animal. 110,000 people, probably going to be a scorcher no matter what time the game is. It's going to be hot. They're not used to that there. And I'm sorry, that defensive line versus any offensive line is going to be a problem. But against an offensive line making their first start that's decimated because they've lost some guys to the NFL and to injury,
right?
Sorry, I think we're going to be just fine there.
I agree. I think that's, we talked about this earlier this week. When you go into that game and you do the breakdowns, if you put A&M defensive line, Notre Dame offensive line, you're going to say advantage A&M.
Yep.
The only thing is if you flip it around and say A&M offensive line, Notre Dame defensive line, you're going to it's going to be the same.
100%.
But I'm not so sure that the advantage isn't bigger on A&M's side.
Beyond the defensive line, you're saying?
I'm saying that I think it's a tougher matchup for the Notre Dame offensive line than it is for the A&M offensive line. I'm not so sure that's not the case. Yeah. I guess what I'm saying is I'm not so sure A&M's offensive line, for all it's been maligned and everything, I'm not so sure it's not going to be as good or better than Notre Dame's.
Can I tell you what's on the show today?
Tell me.
Olin Buchanan for the Go Hour.
I'm here.
9 o'clock, Andrew Monaco,
Good
Will
dude.
Johnson, and Dave Elmendorf.
All three.
All three.
Going to bring in the radio
The menage
team.
of Aggies. Now, I will say this. I wrote on TexAgs.com, Elmo, and people were asking, isn't that his nickname? Don't they call him Elmo?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not like making something up. That's
No.
what people call him, right?
Yeah.
I put it, as the title Elmo. And people are like, Elmo?
Elmo.
Yeah, we're going to have that, the red guy. The red guy's going to be in studio with us.
Well, he has kind of got a reddish hair.
Well, yeah, but the one on Sesame Street. I think
The one who's has a suburb of San Antonio named for him.
There you go. One who might have played in the NFL for quite a long time.
Long time.
And
Yeah.
won at a very high level.
He did. Played in the Super Bowl against the Steelers.
Yeah. So we'll have that Elmendorf on the show for about a half hour.
Was he an All-American?
I believe he
I
was.
think
Yeah.
he was a star in football and baseball.
Did it all, buddy. So
I wonder if Andrew
first team
Monaco,
All-American in 1970.
Probably in both. I wonder if Andrew Monaco ever, lived close to Elmendorf, Texas.
Ah.
Yeah, because San Antonio came here from San Antonio.
He's such a pro.
He is pro.
He's such a good dude. And one of my favorite humans. And
Yeah,
the
they're
Will,
all good
The Will
dudes.
guy's pretty good,
I
too.
used to get a lot of Will Johnson's mail because he doesn't anymore. He used to live in the house on the street right behind mine. And in my neighborhood, everything starts with rock this or rock that.
Yeah.
And we had the exact same address number.
Yeah.
Just, we had the same address except just different streets. So I'd get his mail a lot.
Hey, if you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can call us up, 979-693-1150. If you do call us, we'll pick it up on the Boss Firearms hotline. Let me tell you a little bit about Boss Firearms. They're Aggieland's premier gun and accessory shop. They've got all you need to build your next firearm. Check them out at bossfirearms.com. Let's go around the room and say hi. Nick Savage is behind the glass. I believe it's Nick.
It is me.
Unless you're taking another day off.
Nope. Okay. Yeah. We're spinning this narrative that I take days off. Come on, David.
We had half-day Hughes. Now we have no days
No,
Nick.
we're not starting that. That's not a thing that's going to start.
Billy, I hope you're
promise
listening.
you right now.
No, he was here. He was working hard. What's going on in your world?
Nothing much, really. Just another week down of practice. Interested to hear what everyone has to say about it, especially my good friends in the radio crew. I obviously get to work with them again for another season.
You see how you dropped that like
looking
humble
forward to
brag?
that.
My good friends.
My good friends.
When's the last time you had them over for dinner?
I don't know. I actually lived, by the way, fun little fact here. I can't remember how Dave is related, but I actually live with Drew Elmendorf, who is related to Dave somehow, some way. It's distant, but
you know who else
I got a pretty good idea that if your name is Elmendorf,
yeah,
you're related.
There's a good chance you're related.
Good point.
By the way, you know who else is related to Elmo? Dave Elmendorf?
Mrs. Elmendorf?
Yeah, she's definitely related to him. Nick, you want to take a guess?
I don't know.
Somebody who has been on this show in the last 10 days.
Liucci and Elmendorf are related?
Billy Liucci is his son. No, it's Chris Harrington.
Oh, okay.
That's his nephew, believe it or not. I think you're going to believe it because I told you.
Yeah, I can believe it.
Yeah. Anyway, the more you know. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Holy cow. The Torniac is back.
She's a Torniac. She told me
yesterday, like, can you just please refer to me as a Torniac? I'm like, you sure?
I did not say that.
I remember
the tornado.
That. I remember you saying that. I was like, okay, if that's what you want, that's what we'll do.
Well, I thought we left that behind yesterday.
It will never be left behind.
Maybe not. Maybe it's sticking. But we have two little conflicting opinions between the YouTube and the text group this morning regarding Florida. On the YouTube, Andrew Horsfield says Florida is getting a bump because of how difficult their schedule is.
That is a thing, by the way. I'm sorry to cut you off. That is a thing when people look, oh, they're really better because look at who they had to play. That becomes a thing where people like kind of raise your value because you have such a hard schedule.
Right, right.
Okay.
You don't think so?
If they're playing a tough schedule this year, so that makes them better.
The perception, they're actually better than their record, bro. They just took on, like, that's how they'd say it.
Oh, saying last year.
Yeah. Or even this year. Like, yeah, they may only win 6 games, but look who they play, man. They had to play at Florida State, Ole Miss, LSU,
yeah, but
Texas.
that still doesn't answer the question why people are high on them for this year coming in.
I think
because I would think if you have a really difficult schedule, that would make people think less of the success that they might have.
I think what this texter means, or this YouTuber, is that their record may suck, but they're better than their record because they lost to elite of elite.
I'm just asking, why are they supposed to be better significantly than they were last year?
They shouldn't be.
They were 5-7 last year. People are seeming like Conor O'Gara, seemingly high on them, and I guess I need to do some more research to find out why people are so high on them.
I'm going to give you some reasons, because apparently several of their games were super close. Not several, a few of their games. They almost beat Missouri.
Okay.
Their game against Florida State ended up being a 9-point loss, but they were right in it in the last possession.
Yeah, rival games, crazy things.
So
that was a real close game that against Arkansas too.
Yeah.
Yeah, how'd that one come out?
That didn't come out very well.
They lost 39-36 to a bad Arkansas team in November.
Yep.
And then just got, they scored on LSU, but who didn't?
True.
Maybe I'm missing something. I'm just, when you take the guys off that team, and I'm thinking,
but it's year 3 of the Napier experience.
Yeah, there is that. It works for Brian Kelly.
Hey, Torniak, if just for a moment, all right?
Yeah.
Remember yesterday on the TexAgs Rewind presented by Specs, I asked the question what we should call you?
I do remember that.
Yeah, there's comments.
Oh, no.
Torniak is on there. There's no doubt. There's Tornado.
Okay.
So
just 2.
We'll just call you Caitlin.
I like that.
All right, we'll just call you
Caitlin.
We'll hit a break. 24-24. You know what number 1?
Number 11.
Yeah, we are. And this is a guy we've actually spoken about recently.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah. So we'll
probably at the end of the year be ranked higher than 11.
You better be. Like, honestly, if we're going to reach that season that we want to have, you better be. Let's talk about sponsorship and vendor opportunities through the Association of Former Students. If you're looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, and you need to check out the Association of Former Students because they bring Aggies of all ages together during awesome events held throughout the year. You've got Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo Gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of guests. And there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of those attendees. All these events offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. These options include title sponsorship naming, on-site presence and activation, recognition and social media posts, and of course, much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please visit or email, sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. That is sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. All right, we are back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Maroon never looks so good with Maroon U. Let's do a little 24 and 24 OB, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, and 24 and 24 is brought to you by FBS Appliance. They're committed to delivering an exceptional experience from start to finish. You can trust them to provide unparalleled service and support every step of the way because FBS Appliance is your trusted appliance store. Visit any of their 8 showrooms across Texas or find them online, factorybuilderstores.com. Number 11 on the list is
Chase Basantes.
We've talked about him quite a bit this week.
Yeah.
He spoke Monday or Tuesday. I said the first thing I noticed was he had shed some of the baby fat, right? And he's always been a big, ferocious, strong dude. But he's going to a position he's much more comfortable with. And all reports out of camp and from coaches' talks have been that he looks really good there.
He's stronger. He's stronger than he was. We saw him doing the video where he's squatting a lot of weight, and everybody's excited about how strong this guy's gotten. But I think, again, what's the most important thing about Chase Basantes, the two most important things is, first of all, he's no longer a true freshman trying to play against SEC caliber players. And secondly, he's back at guard where he's supposed to play. Kenyon Green, when he came here, he was like All-American guard.
Yep.
And then they moved him in 2021 to tackle. And you know what? He was still good, but he wasn't as good.
He wasn't the same Kenyon Green, yeah.
And it's a different position, and some guys are just better inside. And he even said, I'm more comfortable mixing it up with the big guys. You're not dealing with the finesse and the speed rushers as much. And I think there's every reason to look at him and say, it's a breakout year coming for Chase Basantes. Every criticism you might have of him is unfair.
Sure.
Because he was playing at a position that, quite frankly, he shouldn't have been playing at. Well, my biggest concern about right tackle was not Chase Basantes. My biggest concern is, why didn't you have anybody better than a true freshman who was supposed to be a guard to play out there? Why was somebody else not prepared?
They have not spoken ill at all about the prior regime, but you have heard there's been some roster imbalances. And that's an example of a roster imbalance. You take every 5-star you can, but what about position where you need to develop and where you need to have guys ready to go? And I think they did not have that in several spots.
Right. And so Chase got put in position because they said, hey, he's talented and he's the best we got, and we need him on the field. So let's put him at a position that he's not going to be the best guy to play, or he's not going to be at his best there. Well, now he's going to be in a position where he is at his best. And again, I don't think you can overstate this. When you're a true freshman in the Big 12, maybe you get some grace. But
you don't get it in this.
I remember Kenyon Green starting as a true freshman and being across from, I think his name Derek Brown from Auburn, who was the first-round pick of the Panthers. And Derek Brown wore him out.
Yeah.
Because it's a grown man's league. All right? Chase Basantes has grown up some. I expect to see not just a really improved player, but a damn good offensive lineman.
He's a man. So for the second consecutive year.
He's not 40.
No, he's 20, probably, I think.
71.
But according to Bruce Feldman.
Nick Scourton's still 19.
That's ridiculous.
His birthday's coming up this month, but as of now, still 19. But anyway, we're talking about Chase Basantes.
Chase Basantes. Bruce Feldman has his 2024 freaks list, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Chase made it last year. He makes it again. It says at 6'6", 320, the strongman from New Jersey who deadlifted 615 pounds as a high schooler. Basantes earned a spot on the SEC's all-freshman team last fall and has wowed the new Aggie staff. Basantes, number 86 on last year's list, has a bench press of 445 and 17 miles per hour on the GPS. This offseason, he squatted 605 pounds for 3 reps, but A&M's veteran strength coach Tommy Moffitt said Basantes could have done it 10 times.
And I guarantee you can bench more than 435 or whatever. But I don't think which is smart, they focus on that's not the focus of the weight room is bench press. Because I once had a coach tell me, that tells me when you're on the ground you can push yourself back up. I think they go more on power cleans and things like that, which, by the way, just throw this in there. if you're impressed by power cleans, you might really be excited about Landon Rink when he comes to town next year. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did see that. It was on social. Let's do this. Let's hit a break. OB, what is a common theme about the shirts that I wear?
Oh, they're always tight in the arms.
You guys call them mediums, right? Is what the
well, yeah. I think that probably comes from Liucci, right?
Well, yeah, and it's unfair because some of them are largest for reals.
You're just too.
No, it's just the lighting. But so Luke Salmon's at Duck Camp.
Yeah.
He I ordered some shirts and he said, well, our clothes are fitted, so maybe I should send you a large. So he was very nice and like, oh, okay. So apparently when you order from Duck Camp, they're gonna be fitted, and I'm big in the fitted. I like fitted. Yeah. I don't want tight. I want fitted.
Yeah, I think you want tight.
I
think you want both.
I don't want tight where it looks like, like it's wrinkly and like you can tell like it's a fat man in a little coat. I don't want that.
Oh,
I don't want fat man in a little coat. I want like strong guy in a nice shirt.
I live that.
You know what I want?
What?
I want Shamar Stewart kind of feel to my clothing. That's what I'm never gonna have it, but that's what I want.
Oh, I get it. I would love to look like Shamar Turner. I mean Shamar Stewart. Well, Shamar Turner for that.
All of them.
Irma would love for me to look like, probably any number of Shamars.
She would.
She would.
She would. But about Duck Camp, they have fitted clothes, by the way, and they want people to live for the moments where they can fish to catch and birds to hunt and time to kill and football to watch. And as I said, they are fitted, and it's going to be cool. Fitted. Their gear is tested from the backcountry of Alaska to the dove fields of Texas. I can see you in some Duck Camp gear.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, I have to see you in some Duck Camp gear.
Okay, yeah.
New sun protection shirts that keep you cool, dry, and comfy, available in camo and solid colors. I think we go to Aggie football practice.
I'm more of a solid color guy.
I think I want to like blend into the woods. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So at Duck Camp, they believe
that about you.
Yeah. I am Mr. Country Music.
I figure you're just.
You know
Mr.
who's taking me hunting very soon, by the way?
Naegeli.
Steve Naegeli's taking me hunting. Porter Garner's taking me hunting. I'm going hunting with the world. I'm gonna come back and be like, dude, you still have camo on your face or the paint, whatever they call it.
You know when you shoot your first deer, you're supposed to like.
You're supposed to bathe in the blood.
Yeah,
rub it on your face.
Like bite the heart.
Bite the heart. Yeah.
Chew it. Take a bite of it.
I'm not that level of hunter.
Well, maybe you need to be. In your duck down, or what is it called? Duck.
Speaking of meat dessert.
Yeah.
Duckcamp.com.
Duck Camp. That's what.
Duckcamp.com. Check it out. a good one right here.
Yeah, old George Strait.
Jorge Strait.
Yeah. I think this Cheyenne.
That is the greatest country song of all time, by
Because it's
the way.
about radio.
I can still
rodeo.
make Cheyenne.
Still make Cheyenne.
The voice of God here on the show, Nick Savage.
Hmm.
You don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah, I don't know how to.
No, it came out of nowhere. I was like,
okay.
Because like when it's something that's
just
passionate
always
to
thought-
Nick, he'll step in.
Always thought if I ever hear the actual voice of God, it probably wouldn't. It sounds a little
He'll
different.
be like, not yet.
Yeah. It'd probably sound like John Facenda.
Tough to send to remind me. I know
NFL
that.
Films
Oh,
guy.
yeah, there you go. That's why I was like, I know that name. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
Or Dave South. The best there's ever been. But anyway, moving on.
Appreciate that. I try my best. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Caitlin Torn. Leaving it at that.
Thank you. Well, we've got one more text about Florida. It's from Madden in Houston, and he says, I think it's more A&M's struggles on the road than Florida.
You
can get down with that.
I can understand that. That would make sense, even though they're not going out on Thursday. And have you ever talked to any
The
player?
answer's no already.
No matter McGee, McKinney, no matter how far back, that ever said, yeah, that's a good idea. Because they hate
every player I've talked to, former player, current player, they're all like, I understand the thought process behind it, give you more study time. But when you're in a hotel room all day in a foreign city, it kind of brings down the energy. Like, what are you doing? Like, it's just, get there, make it a business trip, in and out.
Right. Just
yelling.
like us.
Yeah, we're in and we're out.
Yeah.
And then we're exhausted on Sunday.
So I think that's another reason to think that they could be better. But if that's the thinking behind Connor, I'll give that some legit. If that's behind Connor's thinking, okay, I can see the legitimate concern there. That's legitimate. But I still wonder why there are those, not necessarily Connor, that are so high on Florida this year.
Yeah. Well, here comes my question, because I have my answer, okay? And this is my answer, and I think Billy shares the same answer, but I haven't asked it this way, okay? So my question to the audience and to you, all right, and this has been on the rundown for like 10 days, and Nick's like, when are we going to get to it, bro?
Okay.
We've had some good content, so it keeps getting pushed back. What is the third most important game on the schedule? And I say third because I think there's, for sure, Texas and Notre Dame today feel like the two most important games. I might be wrong, but I feel like when you look at that schedule, like you got to, you win that first game of the season, it sets you off. You win that last game of the season, you feel great, right? Those are, to me, the first and last game are the most eye-popping games of the season. There are others. LSU's obviously important. Missouri's obviously important. But I look at Florida as the third most important game of the season for what it signifies, what it means at that point of the season moving forward. Once you get that monkey off your back of winning on the road, once potentially, you're 3-0 at that point. That's if you beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
All right? You're either 2-1 or 3-0. With a chance to go and win that, obviously you'll beat Bowling Green. I think you're going to beat Arkansas, and that sets up a matchup with Missouri, who will probably be a top 10 team at that point. I have to look at
that schedule.
their schedule. They should be. Right? To me, the Florida game is, if I had to rank the importance of games for what they mean for the entire season, is the third most important game. OB, what say you?
Well, I can certainly see where you're going there. It's the SEC opener. Like I said, it's the third. It's the first game on the road. You haven't won a true road game, an SEC road game, or any other kind since Missouri.
The week after Bama.
Yeah, like 3 years ago. So so all those things are valid. I'd probably say it's so important to protect your home field, though. So I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I'm just going to have another option.
Let me give you a different lens to look at it. You have to win that game, in my opinion, to have this 9-3, 10-2 feel to the season. Obviously, there are other ways. You could lose Notre Dame and Florida and win out. We've seen this team win out before, right? But in my eyes, for that path, you've got to win that game on the road.
Well, I think you definitely need to. I don't.
What would be your third move?
I don't know. I could.
There's a schedule right there.
I could come up with like I said, if you lose on the road, sometimes that's somewhat forgivable. You're at home. I'm looking at that October 5th game against Missouri, and you're back at home against, like you said, probably a top 10 team.
Here's what my hope.
Protect your home field.
Here's my hope. My hope is that Missouri becomes the third most important game as the season develops. That Florida becomes an afterthought because they weren't that good. But today, sitting here right now, I'm like, dude, you got to win Texas. You got to win Notre Dame. You got to win on the road at Florida.
Okay.
Obviously, if you lose the rest of them, it's a terrible season.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not
disagreeing
saying,
per se.
But I would hope, and I know you would too, that October 5th game is a matchup of undefeated teams.
Yes. I mean, yes. You know what I hope doesn't happen? That, like, Arkansas becomes that game.
Well, that's always important.
But, like, if it becomes, the last couple of years, like, you better win the Arkansas game.
And if you want to go back, since A&M's been in the SEC, right? The game that's going to be really important, Mississippi State. Go back and you see when A&M wins against Mississippi State, what kind of season they have as opposed to when they lose at Mississippi State. I saw A&M 7-1 and ranked 4th in the country.
That's right.
And they go and lose at Mississippi State.
Yep.
They've been ranked high many times. For whatever it is, Starkville is just like
it's a difficult place.
It is. It's like go to Starkville. It's like, maybe it's not like this anymore, but when I was a kid, like walking through a freshly cut yard in the summer with no shoes.
Oh, yeah.
You get all those stickers.
Stickers, yeah.
Mississippi State's like stickers.
I don't like stickers.
Stickerville.
Stickers are like on shirts and stickers on the ground.
I don't like them on my feet. Burrs.
What about on the paper when you did really good on the test?
Huh?
What about the stickers that you
Well, yeah, I mean, that was different.
You're a star.
Yeah, I never got many of those.
Oh, okay. All right. I think there's many ways you can answer this question, but for me,
there's a lot of legitimacy in what you're saying.
Yeah. And look, hopefully that evolves. Hopefully you win that game, and then you start looking at what's left on the schedule like, yeah, that was important, but, dude, that Missouri game. And then you're like, whatever happens in Missouri, win or lose, dude, that LSU game will be the difference between 9-3 and 8-4.
Well, the more you win, the more the next game gets bigger, right?
Hopefully you get to Auburn. And, like, this is the third, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to win on the road again. Yeah. You've been doing great. You got to, like, hopefully Auburn becomes but where I sit today, I don't want to wait would it be 3 years? 3 calendar years without winning on the road. I don't want that.
And if it came to that, you'd be going to Starkville trying to end that skid, which they did beat.
Not on the road the last time.
They did beat. I guess in that good year, the good year they had 2020, they won it in Starkville.
And then they lost at home the next year, lost on the road the year after. Right. They won this past year. Thank goodness. So open up the phone lines for this one?
Yeah, sure.
Text lines? What do you think? Third most important game on the schedule, let me know. Right now, we're talking Rollo Insurance. They're obviously the insurance provider of TexAgs Radio, and this studio is named after Rollo Insurance. They're the best. When you need help finding the right insurance for you, let them do it. Morgan takes care of me. He just texted me yesterday and this morning about helping me out with our insurance goals. The difference is real with them. Independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish your insurance goals. They can write any form of insurance to anyone in Texas and several other states, but they got 53 offices in the great state of Texas. Their headquarters is on Highway 6, but they got offices in Houston. They've got DFW. They've got East Texas. They got Central Texas, Austin and San Antonio, West Texas, and everything outside of Texas. They are the place to go for homeowners, car owners, farmers, ranchers, hobby farmers, and their priorities: God, family, and country. Check out the website, rolloinsurance.com. That is rolloinsurance.com. Or go to 888-44-ROLLO. That is 888-44-ROLLO. All right, it is TexAgs. I don't know why I said all right. TexAgs Radio. We're presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance, Studio Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creation. It's time to bank on it, by the way. Presented by Vera Bank. Authentic relationship-based banking built for real life. Go see Joel Jackson and the team. Learn more at verabank.com. OB, I'm just going to bank on something real quick.
Okay, bank.
Okay, so the Aggies come in at number 20 in the coaches poll.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And I'm banking on that number going up, baby, after week 1. What does that mean? I'm banking on it.
That means you're banking on them beating the
Today I feel good.
Irish.
Today I feel good. You know me. I changed my thoughts and emotions. But at this current moment, I feel really good about the Aggies moving up the rankings.
They're moving on up.
You know what? Miami's going to move up too, though, because I think they'll beat Florida. I'm looking at these the coaches poll that just came out. Right?
What a huge game that is for both programs coming out of the gate.
Because if Miami loses, the Cristobal chatter gets really loud. If Napier loses, guess what gets really loud?
Two coaches that this is going to be the solution. You know, they're the Tom Herman of Florida.
What a cheese ball.
The only thing they haven't done is what are some of the crazy things Tom Herman did?
I just know
he hadn't flipped off the cameras and stuff like that.
I've said this story on air.
I can't see Cristobal grabbing his.
Tom Herman was really nice to me when he was at Houston. Really, I was I liked the guy. Yeah. I didn't want him to go to Texas because I liked him. Right? He was when he was at the University of Houston. I went to his introductory press conference at Houston. Did I tell you this already?
No, tell me.
And we were asking questions normal media, and then afterwards I went and shook his hand. I tried to go shake his hand afterwards to say, "Hey, it was a fun covering you these last few years," right? Just because we had a good relationship. He did not have a second for me. He's like, yeah, and walked off. It was please don't bother me. So ever since I hold grudges, OB.
Yeah, I've seen that a lot in coaching. You know, when they're assistants and trying to get a head coaching job, they're, hey, I'm very accommodating.
Yeah.
I want it because I want their name out. But once they get what they're looking for, okay,
no.
You served your purpose.
So that was my interpretation of it. He didn't have any use for me anymore, so he moved on. But
you wonder if Napier and or Cristobal kiss their guys as they go out. Remember Herman was kissing his players as they were from UH.
I kiss my sons on the cheek.
Well,
and I don't even think I do that very often. But yes, Cubans are very affectionate. But that's about it.
Yeah. So Cristobal maybe because Cubans are very affectionate.
We're affectionate people.
Yeah.
We also have a volatile temper.
I know.
We do. My kids are like, Dad, you're the best until.
Yeah. You'd be like Frank Martin.
Oh, I like Frank Martin.
Yeah, there's some good Cuban coaches out there.
God.
I don't know that Mario Cristobal is one of them.
Can recruit? He's got everything at his disposal this year.
Right. That's why that first game is so huge.
I think they're going to win.
Both of those programs.
I think they're going to win. I do. But which is going to make that Florida game the third most important game of the season.
If Billy Napier loses that opener, he's dead man walking.
Yeah. OB, it was fun, buddy. Thank you very much. All right, here's what we got. We got Andrew Monaco. We got Will Johnson. We got Dave Elmendorf. They're all coming up here in a few minutes. We'll get them at 9 o'clock. We've got Billy Liucci at 9:37.5. All right, and then it'll be you the rest of the way. We'll do an hour with Billy, then just the last half hour, just a conversation between friends. That and more. It is TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Look who we have in studio. Dave Elmendorf. Hello, sir.
Howdy.
How are you?
I'm terrific.
Thanks for coming in. Andrew Monaco, the voice of the Aggies. Hello, sir.
Here's the thing that gets me. He got the single coming out of break. It was a single.
You know what?
David. It's in your contract.
I'm the big deal. Big deal, Nuño. And Will Johnson in the house. Hello, sir.
Good to see you.
Hey.
How's everything?
Great. I think this is the third year we've done this roundtable. I love doing it. So just we'll start off with you, Dave. Your thoughts heading into this season, what you've seen at practice, the change with Elko, just the vibe right now.
Very much improved, in my opinion. Of course, I think the world of Coach Elko. Back when he was here as the defensive coordinator, he was so good to me as a color commentator. He would give me time before practice on a particular day and talk about the opponent, which helps our broadcast. So I thought the world of him. I thought it was a great hire. I love everything that I've seen so far at practice. Of course, it's early. There's only been a few days. We'll see a lot more tomorrow when we get to see the scrimmage. But I'm very optimistic about this season.
Will?
I'm optimistic as well, same as Dave. We've talked to as many players as we could in the summer. The extended Omaha and baseball season didn't help that, but
Right.
But we've talked to everybody we could, and I think the word we keep hearing is accountability. Even the small details, if you don't do it right, you don't get away with it. With Mike Elko, he's very honest with his players, so I think I take that word into the season. This team is held more accountable than they ever have been in the past, and I think that will pay dividends in close games, tight games. That leads to discipline in the fourth quarter in tough situations, tough environments. I think that's going to help with that improvement that Dave talked about, the accountability that they go through now with Mike Elko.
What he just said right there, I mean, to me, that's so important, Andrew, that the fact that these games this last couple of years have come down to a play or two. They're all a possession or two away.
Yeah.
And if you can be better in that department, we're talking a completely different vibe here.
It's either you flip the score or it's not a close game because you've executed. Accountability, availability, dependability, right? You hear about it. Those are the three abilities. The accountability may have been missing. The availability was missing because of injuries. I'm excited about the players who are coming back and now are available for Texas A&M. And can you be dependable? That's the key. Can you play for one another? The 11 on each side, can you play for one another? I'm with you. They were in a lot of games. Never figured out how to win those. Will there be the factors that you're learning in training camp make those no longer one-score games but Aggie victories?
So to keep it with you, Andrew, one of the things that I really like is that he saw issues, he addressed those issues, and if it's by personnel or if it's by attention to detail, the offensive line issues is going to feel different. The secondary, he went and got some dudes. Every little issue we had, he addressed it.
And that's the thing. He is quite honest. He said that at all the coaches' nights throughout the state. We are a 12-13 team the last 2 years. That's who you are. What are you going to do? You're going to say, oh, it's magically going to fix itself? No. Go out and address that. And he did it through the portal, in and out. He did it through the high school recruits. He did it from getting the coaching staff what's going to bring the best out. Now you bring all these players in. Now you compete. To me, the best 11 are going to be on the offensive side. The best 11 are going to be on the defensive side. That competition is going to happen every day, not just in camp, but I think in practice. Dave and I were joking. And then after game one, you're going to compete again for your job. I don't think anything's set in stone.
Dave, we were talking at lunch the other day about you thought DJ Durkin did a very nice job, but there's a different level of good with this defensive staff. Just what is it about Coach Elko and now Jay Bateman running the show that you think could make this elite defense even more elite?
Well, I think we've already hit on it. I think the accountability issue that was missing, in my opinion, before. These guys look, and it's like I said, it's really early in the season, but these guys look like a team now. And you get a different vibe even at the first few practices. There's a different mindset, and probably because of that accountability. And Coach Elko said when in his first press conference, he said, we will be more involved in the portal this year than at any time in the future because we don't have time to build relationships, which is how you recruit high school kids. So we're going to have to be more involved in the portal. So this is probably going to be his roughest year because he's got so many different pieces that have to fit in. And but I'm very confident that he can get that done because Not only was he a great defensive coordinator here, but he was a very successful head coach at Duke, which is not an easy place to win. Right. So I just, like I said, I'm a big fan of Coach Elko.
Yeah, I think we all are. And then Colin Klein, we'll go to you. He's one of those offensive coordinators. You talk to anybody who's an analyst, they're like, you gotta watch out for Colin Klein. He's a riser in the business. Notre Dame wanted to hire him. They couldn't hire him. This is a guy that, has got a head coach potential in his future. Mm-hmm. What have you seen from Colin Klein?
Well, one thing that when we go on the air at 5:30 on August 31st, Dave's going to talk turnovers, and I'm going to talk red zone. And Colin Klein comes in, touchdown rate in the red zone last year at Kansas State was 78%. That was second best in the nation. I actually believe A&M has had a red zone problem in the last few years. And, any show I go on, our shows, I talk about the red zone till I'm blue in the face because – today's college football is about ending drives with touchdowns. Now, you can do it with explosives. A&M needs more of those too, quite frankly. Or you got to finish drives in the red zone. I think last time I was here, I told you, Randy Bonds kicked more field goals last year than anybody in the country. Nobody tried more field goals than Randy Bond. That's fine. He's a good kicker. I don't want to see Randy Bond 35 times ending drives. Right. You got to punch it in the red zone. And digging into it, A&M hasn't had a high completion percentage in the red zone. Throwing the football, tighter windows, I get it. You can't throw downfield in the red zone. It's tougher to slip the ball in there when the field's compacted. But A&M has to finish drives better. Got to end them with touchdowns. Colin Klein excites me because of that number, 78% touchdown rate in the red zone. And A&M's been running in the low 60s as far as the touchdown percent in the red zone for the past 6 years, essentially. So I see improvement there with Colin Klein. That's what excites me the most about him.
Andrew, we've had this topic for years. Unfortunately, we've had it for years, but not many teams win when they're on their backup, their third, and their fourth quarterback. And say what you want about Jimbo. He had a lot of bad luck. Yeah. I want to focus on Wiggy, though, the good. All we've seen is good, 19-2, 19 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. What have you seen from Wigman this preseason?
Well, I'm going to tell you something that I saw yesterday. Okay. During the middle of the period, it stops. You put time on the clock. Here's the score. Here's the situation. They run a play. Connor Wigman points to one of his wide receivers, tells him where to go, and zips the ball to him. It's that rapport that you get, that relationship that you get with your receivers that he hasn't had to have. You don't get that when you're on the sideline. You can learn a lot. He's so smart, right? You learn an awful lot of that. But now you have that wink, that nod, that little hand wiggle with your receivers. You have it. Let's be honest. I think they're deeper at receiver too. Like Will's a big believer in this. 50-50 balls on offense and defense. You've got guys like that now who can do that. But for me, you're exactly right. Who did he have the most success with? Kellen Mond. He played every snap practically, right? It's hard to have 7 quarterbacks in the last 2 years. Now, look, you have to have that depth in this game, but boy, to have Connor Wigman the entire time would be huge. And again, there is a leadership to him. Well, I joke with you all the time. I'm never really sure what it is. He's got it.
He's got it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Dave, a little bit on the offense on your end, too, because the last couple of years, Petrino, Jimbo, that offense felt it was stuck in neutral, right? And that's a borrow line from Ross before he left. But the offense felt 31 points a game last year, which wasn't bad. I got to expect more than that. I don't know. I can't put a number on it, but I feel like just with Colin Klein and Connor Wigman being healthy, you got to see more.
I would certainly hope so. And to get back to Wigman, he has got all the other things that we've talked about, but he's also got great talent. And I talked about this in the booth. His quick release as an old safety. Yeah. You're talking about split seconds making a difference, particularly to a defensive back. And his quick release, and he's really accurate. But that quick release, I've told Andrew, I said, it's like he's got an air gun. And every time he throws it, it's poof, right, and it's gone. And as a defensive back, you look at that and you say, I got no reaction time. Mm-hmm. And he's got a strong arm, and he's very accurate. So I'm so looking forward to him running that offense. And we've all mentioned leadership skills. Yep. And in my humble opinion, I think our offensive line is going to be much improved this year. So and if he's got time, and we can keep him healthy, he's, in my opinion, he's an elite quarterback, and we're going to score a lot of points. But as an old defensive, I wish I'd have had 31 points a game.
I get that. I get that.
You all didn't need 31 points a game. Let's be honest with that Rams defense.
He's a baseball player too. That's good run support. If you get
Will, for you on Wiggy too, when you think about like where he was leaving that Miami game and going to the Auburn game, and just where people were talking about him, he hasn't been healthy. I feel like people know he's really good. You see him in top 15, top 20 quarterbacks. But if he didn't get hurt, we'd be talking about him much higher on those lists.
Yeah, well, and you're also talking about what's A&M's record last year if he doesn't get hurt. But there's not a knock on Connor Wigman for me at all. It's just the sample size isn't as big as you'd like it to be. Yeah. 8 games as a starter, that's not even a full season yet. That's all we want to see. We just want to see Connor lead this team from behind center for 12, 13, 14 games in a year. I mean, last year, just look at how he came out of the gates. I think he was completing, 85% of his passes in the first 2 games. In the opener, he throws 5 touchdown passes. Later on, ULM, I mean, he sets the school record for completion percentage in a game. The sample size last year was really small, but it gave you a glimpse of not just how good, how great this quarterback can be.
Andrew, the running game, it's been okay.
Yeah.
You're right. I expect it to be really good because of the way Colin Klein's offense is designed. Obviously, we've talked about the offensive line a little bit. It should be better. But Reuben Owens, a second year, Le'Veon, a third year, Amari, who led the team in rushing last year. Like, you've got some pieces. E.J. Smith, like, you've got, like, more than pieces. You've got, and I think one of those guys might emerge as kind of what we saw with Isaiah and Devon, right? Where one is the alpha, but they both can kind of do it.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about that stable is there's something unique to all of them, but there's a lot of similarities to all of them, and I think you can put some pressure on the defense. Back to what Dave said, look, it's going to be the 5 up front when you add that tight end, which is another deep room. That's going to dictate how that offense goes. We can talk about Connor, we can talk about Noah, we can talk about Reuben, we can talk about all of that. If the 5 can't keep Connor upright, if they can't create holes, I don't care who you have back there. And that, again, that was all addressed. So is having those guys back healthy. That is big. But I'm with you because Amari got stronger, but he's never lost his speed. That's tricky in this day and age. Guys like to get stronger, but sometimes they lose that speed. I'm a big Le'Veon Moss fan. There's a maturity to him. And you mentioned something, freshmen becoming sophomores, having that entire year behind you of everything, David, of time management, practice, what you have to do, what you faced, and he's had success there. And not just running the ball, they can all catch the ball. I think it's quite a weapon for Colin Klein in this offense.
Well, I think last year when you watched Reuben, he was a step away from breaking so often. Like, you was like, oh, here it comes. Oh, they got him. Like, I feel like that is going to be the different Reuben this year.
I don't think they're going to get him this time. I think they have more of that on offense. I think they have those game breakers. To Will's point about those explosive plays, they got that. It doesn't always have to be the shot downfield. Can Moose be Anias?
Yeah.
You want the ball in Anias's hands as often as you can. You can't teach 6'6". That's Noah Thomas. You got Ja'Day Walker who wants to make plays. You've got those guys, and I think they're deeper there as well. I think I'm with Will. Those explosive plays, the momentum changers, right? And then you've just put 6 on the board, and now you're going to allow this defense who wants to get that ball back for you. Yeah, that's where I really want to see the momentum change this year.
So would we all agree the big questions offensively, we've talked about the line, and I think there are questions about the wide receiver room because we just haven't seen enough of one of those guys become a wide receiver 1 or healthy or opportunities. Would we agree that those are probably the 2 biggest issues?
That's mine. The receiver room is mine. I ask this question, how many receivers does Colin Klein and Mike Elko want? And after those 3 that return, who's there to fill that out? Cyrus Allen is a guy I look at. Jabray Barber's interesting because maybe he's healthier than was expected, the Troy transfer. So everybody wants to know who's new that will contribute. The 2 I'm looking at are those 2 guys in the receiver room.
Bostic you add from
Iowa.
Yeah, there's another one, right? Micah Tease for
we
another
haven't
year.
mentioned him,
No, we just named 7 of them, and I'm not doing justice because there's more than that. Dave and I have talked about this. That's the competition. You better be good on that rep because the next guy's going to be better, as good or better.
anybody that's listened to our broadcast has probably heard this a million times, and I will continue to say it. Playing behind as a safety and also playing some offense.
Yep.
You win up front. You do. Mm-hmm. And so that's where we ought to be focused. We're going to have enough skill talent. We've got an elite quarterback. We're going to have enough skill talent. If our line is as good as both sides of the ball is as good as I think we're going to be, we're going to be fine. But you win up front. I mean, I got spoiled.
Yeah.
I went to the Rams with Deacon Jones and Merlin Olsen. I mean, spoiled. Larry Brooks, Jack Youngblood. I mean, as an old defensive back, that's what you rely on.
Right.
And I guarantee you, every one of those DBs out there is rooting for that defensive line, and every one of those running backs, receivers, and quarterbacks is saying, "Come on, offensive line," because that's where you win, in my opinion.
And I agree with you.
Normally, he just says Deacon Merlin, and we know who he's
Yeah.
talking about.
So along those lines of the wide receiver room and the offensive line, let's not forget that Donovan Green.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's kind of like in the Wiggy sense, right? People have forgotten about him. When he was a freshman, he was fantastic. If he is completely healthy and he looks bigger and stronger, he could be a major difference on both, not only blocking, but obviously being a receiving threat.
Way more tight ends than they've had in the past. Way more tight ends. And
There's 6.
Yeah. You've got to be not just the sixth blocker, but you have to be the receiver. And to me, yes, bigger, but they're still like that hybrid receiver. They've always had that. That's the one thing I will give Jimbo. He brought in tight ends who could play like that. I think that's big. Back to your point, you address something. You bring in linemen. You bring in Coley from Utah. You bring in Armaj Reed Adams, and they have been with the ones and the twos, and they are running in. But Ruben Fothery is healthy again. Trey Zune is a healthy left tackle.
Yeah.
You identify that Chase Basantis is going to be a guard for you. Can you get back to the Maroon Goons? Can you get back to when that running play came in, those 5 looked at one another. Carson Green said it, and he said it not the way I'm going to say it. He said it in a completely different way. He was like, heck yeah. And then Isaiah Spiller scored the touchdown against Florida. Can you get back to that? If they get that, they're successful.
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back. I want to talk about the defensive line. Sound good?
He's going to love this.
Yeah, I think we kind of already did, but we're going to go deep into it. It's TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We got Will Johnson in the house, Andrew Monaco, and Dave Elmendorf. Before we talk about the defensive line, and I do want to do it, Jay Pomp sent in a text. He wants us to talk about Ernest Campbell being faster than A-Chain in the 100. Regardless, what are we hearing about Ernest?
It's part of that. It's just part of that room.
Yeah,
it's just absolutely part. I need to say plural now. All the rooms. Yeah.
Who, by the way, hang out with each other. The rooms.
That's the beauty. You know what? That kind of started last year. I shouldn't say that. They've always had it. But last year, the quarterbacks saw what the defensive linemen had, and they said, can we do the same thing? Mm-hmm. What Elijah Robinson had with that D-line, and the way they got together and watched film constantly, the quarterback said to one another, can we do the same thing? I love that. And again, this is not sniping at, I should have your job, this and that. When you have that,
yes,
you've got a chance to really be special, I think.
Dave, the defensive line, we've been blessed here of many exceptional defensive lines. This one could be in the mix for one of those really great ones when you think about the additions, but also the growth from the Shamars, the growth from others. Like there's a big group of guys here, and then you throw in Nick Scorton. Like this could be a really dangerous defensive line.
And not only that, but the depth.
Yeah.
I mean, now we've got multiples and so many unknowns. I mean, that's what the portal does.
Yep.
And I think Coach Elko and his staff have done a really good job of finding who fits.
Yep.
And so I think Torian York has got to be a happy camper.
Yeah.
I mean, because he's a terrific linebacker, but he's got a lot of help up front. And like I said, you went up front. Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this defense and what that defensive line can do to make us really competitive on defense and hard to score on.
So, Will, I'm super optimistic against Notre Dame because of that defensive line and also reading about some of the issues that Notre Dame's having on their offensive line. It's going to be a close game. I get it. But that could be the difference in the game.
Exactly. I've thought the same thing. They might have some problems at tackle. And because of injury, they've had one in preseason camp, and then they lose their two starters from last year. That could be a problem in keeping the Aggies out of your backfield with this defensive line and the way they operate. That's going to be a key to that game. That game has a defensive slugfest written all over it to me. I think it's going to be hard on both offenses that night. Notre Dame's got a good secondary. Can the Aggie receivers get separation against their secondary? Notre Dame's problem could be with the tackles and keeping the Aggies out of their backfield, but it equates to two defenses that on paper could be very successful that night. It might be a throwback college football game. I mean, it might be the first one to 20 wins it.
Yeah.
So it looks that way right now. I mean, we'll see on the night of August 31st, but I mean, that could be two of the best defenses around college football going at each other that night.
When you think about the storylines of that night, Andrew, the fact that Coach Elko was at Notre Dame before, the fact that he's back at A&M, that the quarterback was Riley Leonard, and you got Riley versus Connor. That's a big quarterback matchup.
Yeah, and the one thing that, to what Dave was saying about Mike Elko, what his former players have always said, that he, besides genius and mad scientist, and that comes from Sam Matthews. We just talked to him. I just talked to him the other day. The adjustments that he makes. Now you adjust to someone that you coached and you know. Look, it's different when he leaves Notre Dame in 2017. He's been successful everywhere, but it's those in-game adjustments, and it's the demeanor in which he does it is what every former player is. Look, there's an intensity, but he gets it. He gets those adjustments to you, whether it's at halftime or on the sidelines. That's the key. That's what I think is undersold, I think, with Mike, is that type. I'm a big believer to talk about to former players about stuff like that and just instilling that confidence. But no, there are plenty of storylines for that one, and those are three of them for sure.
Dave, as for the secondary, way deeper than last year.
Yes.
More experience, more health, and putting Bryce back at safety spot, I think, is going to go a long way. So just talk about that group as a whole.
Well, I don't know that much about them yet.
Yeah.
Because we haven't seen a whole lot of practices and we got a lot of new faces. Of course, I know about Bryce, and I've thought of him as an elite safety the whole time he's been here. there's a reason why he wears number 1. I mean, he's just an outstanding safety. He's done a good job. And I'm just looking forward to seeing how this defense operates under Jay Bateman. I had a good conversation with him at the last practice I went to, which was the day before yesterday, their first day in pads. And first time I had a chance to really chat with him, was very impressed. Of course, he came from Florida, and he asked me, he said, when you were with the Rams, did you know Jack Youngblood? And of course, Jack and I were rookies together. and of course, Jack's a Florida grad, and apparently he's back at Florida, and they see him quite often. So we've kind of got a little bond now because we've got a good friend that we both know. But I look forward to having the same relationship with Coach Bateman as I did with Mike Elko when he was the defensive coordinator, and he's agreed to that to help me with our broadcast and talking about the opponent's offense. So I'm so looking forward to building that relationship with Coach Bateman, and I think our defense and the secondary is going to be much improved.
Guys, I want to ask, and will you take it from here, Torian York, he mentioned him earlier. There's the football side of things, but there's also what he means to that roster, to that defense, to that whole team. There's a reason as a sophomore he's a captain.
I love his story. I mean, a guy who celebrated his 16th birthday in an airport, delayed for a flight to Columbus, Ohio, just trying to get noticed in the recruiting trail. He was going from camp to camp, just wanting somebody to know that he could play. And really the only one that kind of knew that he could play was Mike Elko.
That's right.
At Duke. But then very late, and probably because a few other linebackers passed on A&M, Torian York got an offer from A&M. He's in some ways Torian's made it. You know, he's now kind of an all-SEC type player. He's made it, but he'll never think that. He finds something to keep a chip on his shoulder, to motivate him, to go play better today than he did yesterday. I think that's his leadership. I think guys look at that and say, well, I can't take a play off because this guy, look what he's made himself into, yet he doesn't take a down, a snap. He doesn't take a day off. So I think that's his leadership. Other guys see that and say, well, I've got to do the same thing. I mean, if anybody has the right to feel like they've come a long way and made it, it's Torian York, yet he doesn't stop, he doesn't quit, he keeps going. So guys gravitate to that and say, you know, I need to do the same thing. And now Torian's more vocal.
Yep.
But I think what his actions that it doesn't matter if you're vocal if you don't put forth the actions. It's the actions that he takes and the steps that he takes every day that have that defense following him right behind him and what he does.
Let's close out with one question for the group. So I brought this up earlier in the show. In fact, your nephew, Chris Harrington, texted me. He agrees with my thought, all right? So I'm going to see what you guys think. It's hard to rank games' importance, but if you were to say the third most important game, and the reason I say third, because I think Notre Dame and Texas obviously come to mind before a season. Storylines will develop. Maybe Missouri ends up being that game. Maybe there's a LSU becomes that game. But if you had to say right now, looking at that schedule, that the third most important game, and I've already taken out Texas and Notre Dame from the equation. Andrew, you start it off?
Florida.
Okay, you agree?
Yeah, road game. Can you win on the road once again? Can you reestablish that ability to do it? And being a conference game. Now, look, Notre Dame is almost like a conference game. It's almost like that. It's a little earlier. It's a test. It's on the road. It's going to be in the swamp. I think that becomes one of those, if you ask me.
Well,
I'm going to cop out on you. I have no idea.
Okay.
I mean, you start the season with Notre Dame, and I can't look all past that. That's as big an opener as you can get. For the longest, I always pinpointed LSU as a huge game on the schedule. This is why we're not playing Texas. They were the most regional SEC team to us. You're probably recruiting against them the heaviest in the SEC. You had to get ahead of them. You started to win the home games. You're still not winning Baton Rouge, but LSU's not in Baton Rouge this year. They come to Kyle Field. So I don't know where I place LSU now with the addition of Oklahoma and Texas, the different dynamic of the SEC. I'm copping out. It's hard for me to figure out the third best game. I just know we have the biggest opener in college football on August 31st, and I'm sticking with that one right now.
I like it. Dave, you have a thought on it?
Same as Andrew. Florida, because it's on the road and because it's an SEC game and because it's early in the season. Critical game there, that would be a huge win, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I know you know. The last time they won on the road was 21 against Missouri. It's been forever.
It has been, and which was impressive because they had just beaten Alabama, and they kept the same intensity in a game where there was nobody there, and they did it. And how about that? That
game was over at halftime.
Well, we were talking about this. I think Bowling Green is September 21st. Connor Bazelak is their quarterback.
Yeah.
I think he was the Missouri quarterback that day. The Aggies won their last road game.
Yeah.
Got to go back and look at the box score. I think he was quarterback of the Tigers when the Aggies won their last road game. Now he's going to come to Kyle Field with Bowling Green as their quarterback.
Yeah.
After a stint at Indiana. That's college
right.
football today. Missouri, Indiana, Bowling Green. Yeah.
That's the word of college football written now, right?
That's exactly right.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
very
David.
much.
Thank you.
Wonderful seeing you.
Thank you, guys. All right, we'll come back with Billy Liucci next here on TexAgs Radio. It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in this morning. Billy should be joining us momentarily. We got a bunch of stuff to try to cover here over the last hour and a half or so of the program. That was cool to have them all three in studio. I love when they come in. This is the third year we've done it, and just getting their perspective. Obviously, Dave Elmendorf, his history, his career, and just the way he can break down a game. The soothing voice of Andrew Monaco and Will Johnson, just bringing his perspective from the sidelines. It's always good, and I appreciate them here on the program. If you want to chime in, you can do it at 979-693-1150. That is 979-693-1150. That is our phone number if you want to ask a question, be a part of the conversation, and get into any of the topics we've been talking about today. I know we're trying to reach out to Billy. I don't know if we have him on the phone or not. So what I'll do is I'll start introducing a few topics for us to consider here on the program. One of the things that I did want to get into is Bobby Petrino. And the reason I want to bring this up is I saw this article recently about what he was able to do, and A&M's offense jumped up by 10.5 points the year he was here. Now, I think we all are in agreement that when you look at A&M's offense last year, to me it feels like on certain days is Bobby Petrino calling the plays, and then on other days is Jimbo Fisher calling the plays. There is a truth to it that the offense was better last year, regardless, right? 10.5 points more is a significant number. I don't know if Colin Klein is going to provide 10.5 more points a game, because that would be a significant jump. But it is going to be better. I think we do have Billy on the hotline. Let's go to it. Billy Liucci there on the Boss Firearms hotline. Billy, good morning, buddy. Hey, I was reading an article about Bobby Petrino and what he did at A&M last year and A&M's offense. Believe what you want if he's calling the plays, Jimbo, the conglomeration of the two, but they scored 10.5 more points per game. Now, while I think that would be a huge jump to go from 31 to 41, I do think it is not unfair to think, or it's not ridiculous to say that A&M's offense is going to be better than it was last year for two simple reasons. I can give you more than two, but Connor's healthy, and you got Colin Klein calling the plays.
Well, and I think we're going to have a much better offensive line. And I watched them yesterday, and I watched them a little bit with Seth, and I watched them with a couple guys. And it's just a difference in coaching. It's not that Steve Adazio forgot to coach, but I think he'd been a head coach for, about probably 10 years. Hadn't been a position coach in so long. You just watch the difference in technique teaching that's going on, and kind of explaining the why behind things when you listen to Cushing coach. And I just think this group's going to take a big step. And I'm not saying they're going to be dominant. I'm not saying that they are, that they're there yet. And I still think they have to sort some things out. Like, there's a battle going on at center, and I think, there's a battle going on at center. Mark Naboo can play center or guard. I keep looking at Armaj Reed Adams, and I'm going, man, if he's a better tackle than either one of the two tackles, then is that become a tough decision? I mean, there's a lot going on there, still, as you would expect a week into fall camp. I mean, that's what happens. That's what they're trying to figure out. But no matter how it shakes out, I do like that front five to take a massive jump. So all those things, but you talked about that point total thing, and obviously Klein and Connor, right? But you talk about that point total and it jumping, and I'm like, it jumped last year, sure, but I'd like to go back and kind of really visit, like, okay, when they played Tennessee, they couldn't do a damn thing. Mm-hmm. When they played Alabama, they couldn't do a damn thing in the second half when it counted. When, Ole Miss was good, LSU was good for a half, they couldn't do a damn thing. Really stat padded, I think, against like the lower end teams, some of these non-conference teams, Mississippi State and Arkansas, including against Arkansas, 2 non-offensive touchdowns, mind you. Anais Smith's return and Chris Russell with the tipped pick 6. I just don't think that was a 30. And then even Miami, they were scramble mode fourth quarter, and Connor did an incredible job, but that was playing from a pretty good amount behind. They were. They just really they still weren't a good offense, and I don't think that was Petrino's fault. I don't think that was Bobby's fault at all. But and they also They played 4 quarterbacks, 3 during the regular season. You can't succeed with that, even if you had a good offense. So that's the biggest thing is that compared to if you have a healthy Connor. The second is Colin Klein and what he's done, and you go back and look at what he's done as a young OC in this game.
Billy Liucci on the Boss Firearms Hotline here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Billy, do you want to get into 24 and 24 on the phone, or do you want to do it when you get to the studio? All right. We lost Billy. We'll see if we can get Billy back on. I'm going to put him on hold, guys, if you want to check on him. I don't know why we lost Billy. But why don't we do this? Why don't we hit a break? We'll try to finish up the segment with Billy on the other side. Right now, we're talking Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, and online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. They got great deals on their website. They got a great sales staff. They got a great group there, and they want to take care of you. And they do have some commercial vehicles with service body trucks, flatbed trucks, and several medium-duty trucks for those heavier jobs. So when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet and you're looking for a commercial vehicle, you can start by looking there. They're locally owned and operated by Aggie alumni, and the sales staff there is fantastic, and their service staff as well. Complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers. They also offer free oil changes for life on the purchase of your vehicle as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. That is the beauty about going there. A strong, committed sales staff with many years of experience satisfying customer needs. Just make that short drive to Caldwell and experience a car buying experience like never before. They have huge inventory, selection to fit most needs, and long-lasting friendships with all of their customers. It is Caldwell Country Chevrolet just south of big city prices. We're talking 15-minute drive, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Hey, it's TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. And Billy should be here in a moment. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center because Caitlin says, somebody texted in an article that's going to upset me.
Yes, I think it might upset you. It is from an Aggie living in Kentucky, and he wanted to share this article on name bias in college football and preseason rankings. He says focus seems to be more that A&M has spent all this money with little results, but there are other teams in preseason polls that they should focus on.
Who wrote this article?
This was written by Rick Bozick.
Who's that?
Not sure. Sounds like it's coming somewhere
What
from
website is this?
WDRB.com.
Who?
Not sure.
WDRB.com.
Yep.
Do we know? Okay. I don't even know if I should even talk about this. WDRB.com. I've never heard of WDRB.com. It's a TV station in Louisville?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we pull up the Nick, you have the top 25, right? The most recent ones, right? Okay, can you put that up for me?
Yeah, sorry.
I want to play a game real quick.
Okay.
I want to go through these brand names and see.
Let's do it.
All right. Georgia should be number one. Ohio State, yeah, okay. I understand.
I actually was playing this exact game as I was putting together this graphic this morning. I was like, okay, no. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So like Michigan being number 8. By the way, they are a brand name. They are the reigning national champions. There are so many questions about their offense. Their brand name is why they're top 10 right now.
And how much of that is, even though it's a completely different team, how much of it is they just won a national championship too, right?
Okay. By the way, this is how preseason polls works, dumb A. Like, it's about brand and expectations. Okay, that's how it works. Let's go down the list again. Number 12, LSU. LSU will probably live up to their brand name because that's what LSU has done for the last, I don't know how many years, right? But that being said, LSU has a completely different offense and a defense that sucks. They're in the top 25 because of brand name. Clemson, their offense has been atrocious. Brand name. Oklahoma, brand name. Sorry, I'm getting upset. What? Hi, Billy. How are you? Why are you looking at me?
Why does it stink in here?
I showered. I don't know what you're talking about. I smell great. Yeah, it's delicious.
I don't know why.
So some website, some TV station, WDRB, they might be a big deal. I don't know.
WDerb.
Yeah, a bunch of derbs over there. Caitlin, you want to read what the text said or what the genesis of the article about A&M was?
Yeah, you're not going to like this either. I'll read this last line from this article. It says, but A&M is 12-13 the last 2 seasons while losing 7 of its last 8 games against ranked opponents. Like Miami, the Aggies are perennial underachievers and evidence that brand name bias is alive and well in college football.
Every team.
Some of that's factual.
Okay, but every team.
You're right, and that's where I'm going. Some of that's factual, right? When you rank 25 teams, my question is, who do you rank above? And some of that's factual. Most of that's, I would even say, hey, they've also lost 7, 8 games in a row on the road in conference play.
Yep.
Those are facts that make you go, well, A&M maybe shouldn't be ranked however high. But you look at the teams around them, and by the way, A&M had a head coaching change that most people in the sport would consider an upgrade.
Yep.
You know, in terms of the here and now. Like Jimbo Fisher's career resume is badass. He won a national title as an assistant, as a head coach, a second playoff berth. He had a top 5 finish at A&M. Like the whole resume, but where we're at right now and the job Jimbo did here at A&M, particularly down the stretch, anyone in football would say they've upgraded. And if you watch this program day to day, you know that. And we spent all offseason talking about, with all the dysfunction and all the injuries at QB and all the questions in the offense and all this and that, lack of depth in the secondary, the horrific O-line, and they were still that close. So you add this, and that doesn't mean they're going to jump to the playoffs in 1 year, in year one, but it certainly means that this team and their outcome could very well be better this year.
Yeah.
Now, so you look around those teams, and what this person is saying, I don't know if it's a he, she, who it is, right? They, yeah, we'll call it they because I don't know who wrote it or said it. Look around, man.
USC.
But just look. Miami, who they mentioned, okay? Texas A&M. Arizona, who lost Jed Fish, okay? They've been good for 1 year, ever, since like Teddy Bruschi and Desert Swarm were playing. That was like 7 wars ago. Arizona had 1 good year. That guy's gone, okay? NC State, they're about where they should. You know, who's saying that NC State is really good? USC.
That's brand.
USC is brand, and it's similar to Miami and A&M, where you're saying, okay, what has USC done lately? Kansas, I think they've done a great job. And guess what? You're ranked. Congratulations.
Let me just give you another one to think about, because this brand typically lives up to their brand. But LSU coming in at 12 with a completely different offense. It's different.
Completely different offense. How about the fact their defense sucked last year?
100%.
The worst they've had, in this good era of football that they've played, or great era. Great. We'll call it great. 3 national titles, 3 different coaches. But lately, like I've said a million times since A&M joined the SEC, they've lost at least 3 games every year except 1. Amazing, incredible year, but that's it in 12. That's 1 in 12 that they haven't lost 3. What Florida State at 10? Like, I saw what they looked like without their quarterback last year. Once he went down, we saw what they did. They were really good on defense. They probably will be again. LSU is one that stands out. Clemson. But I would say Clemson's different in that they've proven a lot more recently.
Sure.
Than A&M and Miami, and certainly LSU even LSU. Tennessee's a great example right there. What have they done? I know that they got an exciting young quarterback. Guess what? So does Texas A&M. I know that they like Josh Heupel's offense. It's fun to watch. It looked every bit as bad as A&M's did when I watched the game in Knoxville last year. They both sucked. And people like, Louis would probably be on board with Tennessee. And then I would say, but why? Are you holding them to the same standards you're holding A&M? Because you see A&M, or you talk about A&M every day. You don't. When you're sitting there, what do you really know about Tennessee? Because here's what I know, is they were outstanding 2 years ago. That they were average. I think, did they lose to Purdue in a bowl game in Heupel's first year? They were very average. Then they came out last year or 2 years ago, and they ascended all the way up the rankings with Hendon Hooker and an incredible receiving core. Hendon Hooker got hurt. They lost by like 35 points to South Carolina, and the whole thing came unraveled. Yes. And then last year, they were just average again. So that's brand. So this person, whoever wrote this, he just picked the name teams that are basically ranked from, in that instance, like 18 to 25, and he should have just thrown USC in there to fit the argument, because they're basically just saying, hey, if you're a name team and you're not coming off a good season, you shouldn't be ranked. Well, my question would be, who the hell should be ranked? What did Columbia have a great year in the Ivy League last year, and you want to rank them? Was there? You want to put Fresno State in there ahead of A&M and Miami? No, the stuff's, it's absurd. The whole premise of what he said is dumb, and we wasted 5 minutes talking about it.
It was fun, though. I enjoyed it. 24 and 24 next on TexAgs. Hey, everybody. What do you want? Yeah, your drink. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy, it is time now for 24 in 24. Brought to you by FBS
Was last year
Appliance.
23 and 23?
Yeah. And next year will be 25 and 25. And then we're going
I've
to stop.
heard y'all. No, you keep going, damn it.
No, because then they have to make new graphics every year, and that's just hard work for people. You want to just keep going until we get to 75 and 75?
Do the whole roster?
Could you,
How
OB,
old would we be?
So old.
Well,
OB's still like 120 doing it. I don't know why we both laughed for a while. FBS Appliance committed to delivering an exceptional experience from start to finish.
I saw OB run out with the team yesterday. Did you see
He
that
ran
video?
out? I didn't see it, no.
The camera people out there caught him. I think he was like in the way.
Oh, he's got
so he had to like run out in front of him, and it looked like he was like Ralphie leading the team out.
Oh man, did he do a little roll at the end?
That one leg looked like it was going to buckle. It was.
This is me, OB today. This is OB today. Hold on. He's gonna text me in a minute. There we go. Hey,
he's gonna get that one. That comment about his leg is not gonna go over well.
I love you, OB. You know you're my boy. So number 11 on 24 and 24, brought to you by FBS Appliance, is Chase Basantis.
Well, he's number 11. I was about to say a guy that could rise up because I saw the 24 and 24 and it threw me off for a second. I think he's in a good spot there. I think he's a really good potential player on this team. I'm not going to give it to him that he's there yet.
Yeah.
But I loved him last year. I didn't, the on-field performance started off, you go, oh, man, this guy's promising. And then he started to struggle. I mean, somewhere around that Bama-Tennessee game, things I think got rougher for him. I sat in here and talked with him about it one of those days. I mean, those two guys are like Dallas Turner. He and the guy from Tennessee are like two of the elite edge rushers. Not only, obviously, if you're elite in the SEC, you're elite in the country. And this was a true freshman jumping from New Jersey high school football, which is actually, people down here don't realize, actually at the highest levels, it's really good. But jumping from New Jersey high school football to the SEC and starting at tackle, which I think was a disservice to him. I also understand that A&M was in a pretty dire predicament, and he was, in fact, their best option. So it was just a tough, really tough setup for him. And I think at some point in time, with enough waves beating against you, your confidence starts to erode. And then, boom, there's a coaching change. And, a big part of his recruitment was Steve Adazio. For all the flack he catches, and performance-wise, rightfully so, as the coach here. But that was the guy that recruited him here, and probably Steve and his son Louie. And then they're done. You're a freshman. You started, which is great, but you probably are like, man, this was a rough year. So he goes in the portal. Mike Elko and Adam Cushing are like, no, that was not an acceptable outcome, was to lose that guy. Right. That's how good they thought he could be. And they thought he could be that good at guard, which is his natural position. Said he's gotten bigger. He was already really big out there at tackle. He's gotten bigger. He can play bigger inside. His mass is a real problem for interior defenders and linebackers. He's pretty damn athletic for as big as he is, and he is insanely strong. I think, if I'm not mistaken, did Bruce Feldman include him on his freaks list?
Yeah, I had the write-up.
I haven't looked at it yet. Yeah, I'd like to see that write-up because I've seen video of what he's done in the weight room.
You want me to read it?
Well, yeah, and by the way, before you say that, even last year, the players were saying Chase came in out of high school as one of the absolute strongest guys on the football team. Other guys they've said that about over the years have been Myles Garrett. Seth McKinney was a guy they talked about like that. You don't hear it too often. I think maybe like a Red Bryant coming from Jasper was like, why is this kid so strong? He's just naturally. So you don't hear it that often with true freshmen coming in, particularly the ones in the trenches, because those guys are so big and so strong. But he was one of them, and kind of going to why.
6'6", this is what Bruce Feldman says 6'6", 320 pounds strongman from New Jersey, deadlifted 615 pounds as a high schooler. Besantis earned a spot on the SEC's all-freshman team last fall and has wowed the new Aggie staff. Besantis is 86 on last year's list, has a bench press of 445 pounds, his HIST of 17 miles per hour on the GPS. This offseason, he squatted 605 pounds, for three reps, but veteran strength coach Tommy Moffitt said he could have done it 10 times.
Yeah, well, Tommy Moffitt would know. And, yeah, he is a strong as an ox, powerful dude. Like I said, a giant body, now covered up at guard. You're not out there on the island, exposed against these edge SEC pass rushers. Now they're going to have to find the right guy to be that guy, but it's not Chase. Chase played guard. He was comfortable. He was natural. And quite frankly, he was really damn good in the spring. He was really good in the spring. And that's, I think you have a second-year guy that entered the offseason and now fall camp very, very confident. And I think feeling good about his future. And he has the potential to be an outstanding all-SEC type and then go on and be a high draft pick. Yep. Because physically, you move him to that position, and there's nothing he's lacking. And by the way, the other thing that I haven't said yet, he's mean and nasty.
Yeah.
And some of those defensive linemen, the older guys, would come in here and tell us a year ago, like, hey, Chase, he'll finish you. He'll play through the whistle. And you got to, they would tell me you got to be ready when you're going against him because he's going right through the whistle and he'll try to put you on the ground. That's what this group needs more of, and it's hard to provide that when you're out there trying to learn an uncomfortable position as a true freshman going against some of the best players in the country. You move him inside, and guess who he's going against every day? Now, in the spring, it wasn't Shamar Turner, but right now, it's Shamar Turner, it's DJ Hicks, it's a veteran like Albert Regis, a veteran like Rodas Johnson, who started 20-something games in the Big Ten. It's a talented dude like Gabe Dindy, 5-star guy that's back from injury. So he's going up against real cats in there. Torian York at linebacker. So, and for him to be faring as well as he is tells you kind of the leap he's set to make going in from year one to year two.
He's one of two that we could say, yeah, they're for sure starting against Notre Dame, right? Like Trey and Chase. The rest, I mean, we have an idea, but there's no guarantee. There's more position battles going on.
Yeah, for sure. Those are the two guys that have, I think, established themselves at their positions. And it doesn't, I mean, we could sit here right now and kind of go through the likely. I think that right tackle spot's interesting to me still. And then a lot of that, too, depends on what happens at center throughout camp. You've got two guys vying for that job. You could stick with status quo with Naboo. If he has a good camp, that's exactly what will happen.
Yep.
Or
Coley?
Or if he starts, how are you saying it?
How do you say it?
I want to get it right.
I think it's Coley.
Okay. I seriously doubt your ability to get a name right, but Olin's even less, so I'm completely at a loss right now. And then Bronny will act like he knows and have it wrong like he did A-Chain for six years. He pronounced Devon A-Chain's name differently 14 times along the way, and will tell you he did it one way the whole year. It used to be Ashan. That's what he used to tell. It's Ashan. Ashan. It's A-Chain. It's A-Chain. It's A-Chain. It's a chun. Like
I just call him Devon now. I just leave it at Devon.
It's Devin.
Can you do Google pronunciation, Caitlin?
No, it sounds like a.
Yeah,
it could be at the break.
I was about to say it sounds like a segment. But if he were to start, then you go, okay, well, is it Dewberry? Well, do you go with Armaj Reed Adams at that spot, or is it Dewberry Naboo battling with Armaj going out to right tackle, or is it there's not a million, but there's several different scenarios. There's still the most likely is what camp started out with, which was Zune, Besantis, Naboo, Reed Adams, and Crownover Fathery. Crownover seemingly coming out of spring. In my opinion, I thought if you made me pick somebody, I would think maybe him, but that was going to be a battle. I don't know, but that right tackle spot to me is kind of going to be the inflection point, and then at center would kind of tell you what your possibilities are.
Well, and then Elko mentioned T.J. Shanahan.
And TJ, I always forget to mention TJ because he was hurt all last year. But he's a dude, by the way, and he's one of only I think 3 that really. I know they worked Dewberry at center a little bit. He had mentioned that, but Shanahan before they went to Utah to get out of the portal, Shanahan was the only other guy like in spring ball that could snap because Dewberry was out. And so that was a big issue in the spring. So he was seeing some center, but really he could factor in at guard as well.
So regardless of who the 5 are, the depth is significantly better than it was in the last couple of years.
Yeah, particularly on the inside, and they've got 4 tackles that can play, like pure tackles in Zune, Crownover, Fathery. And people forget about another guy they forget about is Aggie, who he's looking like a second team guy right now. You never know, but he's an older veteran guy that started. I don't know how many starts he's got. It might be double digits. So, and if there's your depth, and that's what you look for. You look to keep guys like that into years 4 and 5 for this very reason. And I saw him yesterday working at guard some. So, again, like valuable depth guy right there that can kind of swing around and play wherever. You've got young guys that aren't true freshmen anymore, like Shanahan, that if they either break in through performance or out of necessity, they can play as well. So, the setup is nice. I just think you got to watch this group. And I just have a suspicion you'll see, like, some kind of movement along the way, just from the simple standpoint of it. Just you got to find your best fit, your best 5, and I don't know. I wouldn't sit here today and tell you I know what that is.
We always talk about the line and what it means for the quarterback's health, right? And I know we think about it, but we don't necessarily say what it's going to do for that running game. Let's for a moment focus on the backfield and what Le'Veon and Ruben, Amari, and EJ, that whole group, with what we presume will be a much better line, establishing the run, which is a big part of what Colin Klein wants to do.
I've talked about what he does in the run game, and 2 years ago they won the Big 12 on the strength of that ground game. And for the fans of there's a certain other school that I saw a thread on Twitter talking about Klein and the Aggie offense, and I'm going, you guys forget they won your actual league, Texas, where you had twice the talent. Yes, even 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. All those guys that just got drafted were, other than A.D. Mitchell, were there that year, and they were already good. And Kansas State won your conference. You did not. You did not even play Kansas State to win that conference. The national finalist, TCU, did. And guess who beat them? Kansas State. And they did it on the strength of a very imaginative running game, creative, innovative, not maybe imaginative is not the right word, innovative running game. And I've been watching the backs a little bit. First of all, I think Le'Veon Moss looks ready to take a big next step. I think he has a chance to be something special. Like, if you were a scout, if you were a coach, and you're going, what box doesn't he check? He checks most of them. And I'm talking about boxes to be elite. Yeah. We know what Ruben Owens' talent is. As a runner, as a home run threat, as a pass catcher. And I heard the other day, like, those two had a really good goal line session. Just running tough, running hard. Right. Amari Daniels is a guy that I think, I don't know what the expectations were for him with the new staff, and he comes in, and I thought he blew them away in the spring. He was like, okay, this stable's really good. People forget, Amari had a couple of huge runs for A&M last year. The one against Auburn, I think it was South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, was another one where they were trying to maybe early. I don't remember, but he had a big run against, I believe it was them. He had a good game against Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
He had some tough runs. When A&M started to claim momentum in that football game on the road, he was a big part of it. He led the Aggies in carries last year. I think he led A&M in yardage with 590, almost 600 yards and 6 touchdowns. And that's a back that people are already forgetting about. And then E.J. Smith a couple days ago, I was told, was turning heads. And this is Stanford. We didn't see him much in the spring. He was a guy that Jimbo Fisher really wanted out of high school, out of the Dallas area, went out to Stanford, played, came here now, and we didn't get to see what he could do in spring ball. And now he's out there, and he's physically, he looks really good. You see him in that number 22, and you know whose son it is. He looks good physically, and he's a guy that I always thought was an exceptional pass-catching weapon out of the backfield. And I think if they could really put that to use, too. I think out of those backs, he and Reuben Owens could give you a real weapon, particularly if you see what Colin Klein did at K-State. I'd like to go back and look at what those running backs caught, because I feel like watching them, they'll get you in a matchup against a running back a lot. And with guys like Owens and Smith, I think they could create problems.
All right, let's hit a break. We're talking Costa Vida right now. Go say hi to Holly there at Costa Vida. They are Aggie-owned and operated. Fresh food, great food. It's Fresh Mex done the right way, the way you want to have it done. You can go there in the morning, get your breakfast on with your breakfast tacos, get your coffee, have your morning meeting. But it's beyond that kind of experience when you go to Costa Vida. That's just the morning section. You can go at lunch, you can go at dinner, you can get yourself some quesadillas, you can get yourself sweet pork quesadillas as well, shrimp taco and mango salsa. Just get it done the right way when you go to Costa Vida. The ultimate Fresh Mex, made your way exactly the way you love it, where every ingredient does matter. It's so convenient. It's so delicious. It's in South College Station. You got to check them out and go say hi to Holly, the great Aggie that she is. 4501 Mills Park Circle in College Station. That is 4501 Mills Park Circle in South College Station. It's Costa Vida. See, finally, we got some jams playing. A little Zach Bryan for you here on TexAgs Radio. Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. So Ozair once said on Twitter, sends this in, Billy and David, according to the Utah Media Guide, it's Cooley, new, fei. I can't do this. Just Cooley. I can't.
Yeah.
I tried to do it phonetically. It's just not going to work. I'm going to have to hear it. I can't read it. Sorry, Ozair. I tried my best. I tried to read it out loud, and I couldn't do it. A couple of storylines that you wrote about this week that I wanted to just ask you about it from a radio perspective. You had reasons for optimism in Aggieland. You're 5-5, one of your most recent series. There's Olin running out. Hey,
play
Olin.
that again. Let me see.
Look at that, like Superman. Look at how he finishes. Big smile, too. 5-5.
So he was just running to run. I thought the team was coming up behind him. Maybe he still might have panicked a little bit.
Yeah,
everybody else you see playing it cool, and he's like, "Gotta go, get out! The team's coming."
He's got old man speed. He's got it. 5-5. Reasons for optimism in Aggieland. One of the things you pointed out was the wide receiver group making some plays at camp. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that?
What did I say?
Wide receiver group making plays. You want me to go to the article?
Yeah, read that.
Okay. It's going to take me a second.
Okay. I'm still, that's going to be like, there's nothing that I guess I could see them all just going crazy in fall camp, but that's going to be a position that I'm likely.
I have it right here.
Okay, read it.
I've seen, studied, and heard enough to feel good about the A&M offense taking a nice step forward in year one, eventually being a formidable unit under Colin Klein's leadership vision. As far as the season is concerned, I'm convinced that the Aggies are going to need a couple of receivers to step up in a big way for A&M to emerge as a surprise playoff contender. If it's going to happen, the highly anticipated opener versus an elite Notre Dame secondary, Coach Elko and Klein are going to be seeing it regularly during practices in August. What are the Aggies' offense need is for someone to emerge as a true number one go-to receiver. The potential there is for Noah Thomas, but he'll have to really elevate this month and throughout September to get there. Moose, Jade, Cyrus will get plenty of chances.
To get to this punchline, isn't it?
Yeah, you did great writing.
So I didn't say what you said.
That's what the headline says. The Aggies making Aggie receivers making
plays.
plays.
Oh, so you're misunderstood.
I read exactly what it said.
But what you did is you didn't read what has to happen or what's a great sign.
Making plays. If.
Yeah,
making plays.
Yeah, but you said that I said that they were.
That's why
I said that would be
reasons. Well, the article is reasons for optimism in Aggieland, and the first one.
And then what does it say?
The Aggies receivers making plays.
What does it say?
As you continue to read, if there's a wild card, it just goes into a lot of players.
Okay, so the concept, the whole.
You're not saying that they're making plays at practice. What you're saying is for that to happen.
And I'm not saying they're not.
Right.
I'm saying that article was written to say these are the things that if we start hearing this from camp,
then be optimistic.
Then it's really the arrow's really pointing up when you're trying to figure out what this team's ceiling is. And one of those things to me was the receivers making big plays, because I actually think the secondary is going to be pretty nice. I think if you went out and watched practice today, you would go, okay, man, they got a lot of DBs that look really good physically. And they've got a lot of DBs that have proven it at various levels or have a high degree of raw talent.
Yep.
When I think of raw talent, I look out there and I see 25 Dalton Brooks. I see 10 Des Ricks. I see Terry Bussey, and I'm going, damn, these guys. A guy that I really like, maybe, I'm not going to say not this year, but especially moving forward, is Ratcliffe at safety back there. Like from San Diego State, you saw how he hit and stuff, but if he can just gain about another, 10, 12 pounds on that frame, I could see him being super active, like as a safety that can play closer to the line of scrimmage, like be pretty disruptive. But there's some real athletic talent out there. Will Lee, BJ Mays, you go watch his tape at UAB. He was one of their better players on the defensive side of the ball. On the very short list. There was Ratcliffe right there. So you see that in that secondary. What you don't see, I like Jaden Hill a lot too as a nickel, and Chappelle. What you don't see is what the final grouping is going to look like yet. what's the playing time look like between Brooks and Trey Jones? Who are the two guys that start at corner?
Yep.
Is it Jaden Hill locking down that nickel spot? You know, the most comfortable I feel is Bryce Anderson. And then is it like how many guys are going to play? And then when does that thing really kind of narrow down where you go, okay, that's your clear starting five? They're not there yet. They're not close to that yet. When they do, I think that secondary is going to look even better. But you could look at it right now and be pretty encouraged by the amount of talent and depth out there. If those receivers start making plays out there regularly against that secondary, then if I'm A&M, if I'm Elko, if I'm Colin Klein, if I'm Connor Wigman, I start to feel a lot better about it. But they'll have to do that. You know, Noah, Moose, Jade, some of the new faces, they're going to have to start doing that rather consistently to make it happen. I do think that we're a week into this thing, and I think encouraged would be the energy I'm feeling right now from the program. Long way to go.
Yeah.
But an encouraging start. Like, I think a pretty damn encouraging start, and that includes the receiver position.
I want to ask you about one more because in this one I did read, for the record.
You read the other one. You just got.
I just kind of jumped on the headline.
I'll take the blame.
5-5 position battles to take shape as fall camp opens, and you do write about the fight for QB2.
Mm-hmm.
And basically we need to watch, paraphrasing what you wrote, how the number 2 reps go between Marcel Reed and Jalen Henderson, because there is a fight, because every position is open and there's a fight for that spot.
Yeah, but not yet. That's not going to happen in a week. That's going to be more like
throughout the month.
Almost maybe even another 2 weeks from now. They'll scrimmage tomorrow for the first time. So they'll scrimmage at Kyle Field tomorrow for the first time, especially when it comes to QBs. That's when you start to see when there's a battle, whether it's for the starting job, whether it's for the backup. You could feel one way about a quarterback and feel really strongly about it, and then you go out and in one scrimmage, your opinion changes. When you go live, when you've got, when you're asking the QB to do things under real pressure and sustain drives and move the ball, and you've got your DC dialing things up and trying to wreak havoc, particularly when it's going to be Elko, leading that charge. So I think that'll start to sort itself out starting tomorrow. So you got a couple of real options. By the way, anyone that's out at practice, I'd say watch Miles O'Neal throw the football. And I know we all saw the videos and stuff, but he's already become one of those guys that people out there that don't know will say, who's that freshman quarterback?
Yeah.
Just his stature, how he can throw the football. He's athletic too. Like, he's really, I can see why Bobby Petrino and Jimbo wanted him so badly long before his stock was very high. And then his recruiting stock obviously went up. But you watch him throw, and it's like, that's a special arm.
Yeah.
And we've seen that not a million times. We've seen that a lot. People, I had people try to tell me that Zach Calzada was the next John Elway, and I had people tell me the same thing about Nick Starkel. It's not always the arm strength. And those guys, Calzada's still playing well. He's all preseason, first team all conference, maybe offensive player of the year over there at Incarnate. And Starkel had a nice career. But that's not the only thing. So I'm not saying, but I am saying the arm strength but I think in this case, I think the zip, the touch, the accuracy, I think he's got a special arm.
Thank you, Billy. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, we'll come back with a little true or false next on TexAgs Radio. For sure, this is a Nick Savage special, right?
Obey your master. Master. Yeah, of course.
Can we get a soundbite of that and make that like a new drop?
No.
Why not?
Okay.
Who was that, by the way?
Metallica.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You should know that.
I'm not in those meetings.
No,
I've
you don't
joined
go to the heavy metal
No.
Community meetings? It's okay. I don't either.
Not once have I. And look, I know Metallica is one of the greatest bands of all time. This is not a shot at them. You can respect greatness and not want to listen to it or watch it, right?
Sure. Yeah,
The opera, great.
Yeah.
My mom is the only opera star or singer I've ever watched, right? My mom used to sing in the opera. Not my thing. There's other great actor, movie, genre. It's not. I cannot get down with the heavy metal community. It's
That's
just
fine.
not my. They don't look at me as the same, right? When
See,
I
wish people in this back room would have the same attitude as you, because they love to try to dunk all over me for liking that kind of music. And I just tell them, hey, you don't have to like it. It's fine. But they got to take a personal shot at me for whatever reason.
Here's the truth. When I go to like the rapper meetings, I feel like one of them. Okay. When I go to the country music meetings, like, dude, like it's hugs. It's all love.
Kay wants to know if you've heard Drake's new song.
Actually, I don't think I have.
I didn't know he had one out.
I haven't. I just listened on the way to work. The song with Drake, Ye, Eminem, Lil Wayne.
Is that a Forever?
Forever, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that song. That just puts me in a good place. Puts me in a really, really good place. Nick, can we play a game?
Sure.
All right. This game is called True or False. We've played it before. You're going to read some true or falses that you worked all night on, and I'm just going to tell you true or false and a reason. Can we do that?
Okay. Well, hold on. Let me make sure I get to them.
Nice. It's on the G chat. Thanks for reading.
G-chat.
G-chat.
The G-chat.
G.
Oh, my gosh,
chat.
you did.
Yeah, I did. It's like 725 word paragraph.
Oh, I got it. Hey, I got it. Now I'm ready.
We worked on it all night.
Yeah, I remember that.
Hey, now.
All right.
I'm glad the screen went away.
It's okay. It'll come back.
Yeah.
True or false? Texas A&M will have one back with at least 1,000 yards.
True. So, Caitlin, you can look this up while I'm talking. I don't have the exact numbers, but in 21, which wasn't our best year, by the way, 8-4 year, I believe Isaiah Spiller rushed for just under 1,000 yards or right above it. And A-Chain obviously had a really good year, I think in the 600s or 700s. I think we're going to have that guy. We're going to have multiple guys. Like last year, I think you had like just under 600 three dudes, right? And that's with an offensive line that struggled. And, I think sometimes we had to bail on the commitment to the running game because of some of the leads other teams had. Yes, I do think Isaiah Spiller is going to have 1,000 yards, or Reuben Owens, or even Amari Daniels. I don't know. Pick one. One of those guys will, and the next two will have 700 to 800 yards. Caitlin, you turned on the mic. How close was I?
You were a little under, actually. Isaiah Spiller
1,200 yards?
2021 had 1,011 yards.
Okay, that was close. Okay. And A-Chain, I believe, was what, if you can look that up in 21, was it close to 700-ish yards? I should have written this down. I'm sorry, I did not. Do you have that?
I can find it. Give me 2 seconds.
Just give me that number because I'm fairly sure that that's the case. I expect this running game, because remember, let's not forget, the first part of that season, they couldn't run the ball. They couldn't establish the run in 21, and they still ended up finishing well. The running game will be significantly better than we've seen the last 2 years. A more advanced Reuben Owens, more mature. Le'Veon Moss, you've heard all the great accolades about him. Yeah, you're going to have at least one back with 1,000 yards and another one in the 700 range, and potentially a couple other guys close. Did you find that number?
Yep. In 2021, he had 910 rushing yards.
So I undervalued A-Chain. So yes, you're going to have better than that. So you're going to have at least 1,000 back. And you know what? I should have done this on bank hunting. You're going to have 2. All right? Yeah. Just deal with it, folks. Nick, what's the next one?
Next one, we're going to go away from A&M, but also kind of A&M related. Haynes King will throw for 30 touchdowns at Georgia Tech.
All right, I'm going to ask your opinion. Do you think he will?
No.
No? I'm Ron Burgundy?
No.
No?
Fortunately not.
I think he will. Do you know why I think he will?
I don't know. I'm not a Georgia Tech expert. I'm not Matthew Dawson. Yeah. I don't.
Is Matthew Dawson back there?
No, unfortunately not.
He knows stats for every team.
Yeah.
One time I asked him about the Ecuadorian soccer team from '67. He knew all about him. It was amazing.
Yeah.
So here's the facts. Last season, who led the ACC in touchdown passes, Nick Savage?
Was it Haynes King?
It was Haynes King. He had a lot of interceptions, but he did lead them in touchdowns.
Okay.
Do you know how many he had last year?
Must have been right under 30.
It was right under 30. So I'm not going out on a limb here. He had 27, but I don't think we think of Haynes that way. No. Haynes is going to throw for 30 touchdowns this year. He's going to be better. Okay. More mature, ACC defenses. Yes, he's thrown for 30, and I'm rooting for the kid. I want Haynes King to be great. So, yes, he's going to throw for 30.
Okay. Fair enough. We're moving on?
Yeah, we're moving on.
True or false? If allegations of bullying at Colorado are true, Deion Sanders will step down.
False. Deion Sanders does things on his timing. He ain't going to listen to allegations. He doesn't care. He wants to win.
That's part of the culture over there.
That's part of the culture. If you guys haven't heard, there's an article from Steve Corden from Athlon Sports talking about these allegations of a certain environment there, and it brought up the 5-star Kamani McLean and his experience there. And here's just a little paragraph from that article. Kamani was taking a lot of heat from everyone. At the same time, Coach Prime was saying that he was in the doghouse and needed to improve. Kamani was getting bullied by Shiloh. After the Oregon State game, Shiloh slapped him several times, which left Kamani screaming, "I'm going to kill you," repeatedly, and that you could tell he wasn't mentally there. It's hard when coaches you trust are calling you derogatory names on the practice field. By the way, nobody slap anybody. That's just not what you should be doing, obviously. But unless some more serious allegations come down and they force him to step down, there is no way Deion Sanders is step. He does things on his timing. It's about Deion. It's not about Colorado. It's when you think about the Buffs, it becomes about them. And not for the same reasons you think about Nick Saban when he was at Bama, right? You think about Bama and just their history, and it's not just Nick Saban. Deion is about him for the wrong reasons, right? And maybe it'll work out for him this year. The reasons I'm hoping it works out for Dabo Swinney at Clemson for sticking to his guns, even though I don't think it's going to work for him, is the same reason I'm hoping that Deion doesn't work out. And I used to like Deion, but this act in college football, I don't like it. Next.
Michigan will have to vacate wins and maybe the national title.
False. No.
Can we go true and false? I feel like there's a world where they vacate wins but not the national title.
I don't think so. All right, let's give it. How many times can you get in trouble for doing the same thing? They already suspended Jim Harbaugh. I know it was the Big Ten, but for, 4 games last year, 5, whatever the number was.
Yeah.
You can't. I sometimes do this to my kids, and I shouldn't. And I'm being very transparent here. Sometimes, you put a punishment. You can't add to the punishment later. You've already done it. You're going to jail for running that red light for 2 days. Okay. And then when you're there, you add time. You cannot add time when a punishment, and I know they're different, but the Big Ten was trying to get ahead of it. No, they're not going to suspend titles. No, they won't. Next.
All right, next one. This is kind of in the same realm. The NFL will suspend Jim Harbaugh. True or false?
Well, I'm going to ask you what your answer is on this.
No, false. They will not. They don't care.
While I agree with you, there is precedent set there. Jim Tressel got in trouble and jumped to be an analyst, I think with the Colts, and he was suspended by the NFL for that, for similar reasons, right? I'm going to say false as well. I think the NFL has moved on. They don't care. It's over. He left. But it has been done before. Just look at the Jim Tressel situation, and it makes you wonder, does the NFL want to kind of get away from being a safe haven for coaches who are about to get in trouble, which is what it looks like for Jim Harbaugh, right? He was eventually going to go to the NFL anyway, but it sure feels like the timing. You win a national championship. This something big is coming and brewing down the pipeline. Let me get away from it. I'm going to agree with you, Nick. I'm going to say false, but it has happened before for different reasons, but kind of same storylines.
All right.
Last one. Oregon
is the biggest threat to Ohio State in the Big Ten.
Yeah, and I feel bad for Oregon. By the way, I don't want this to be a Big Ten show and people are like, why are we talking about Michigan again? It's just storylines that are happening in college football, guys. But the other day, I think we were talking about the Big Ten, and I was like, Ohio State, Penn State's got to prove it to me. Michigan could be the third team, but we don't know about their offense. And then, you forget about Oregon. Oregon's offense, the way they recruit, Oregon might end up winning the Big Ten. Oregon might be a reason that Ohio State doesn't win the Big Ten, right? To me, yeah, Oregon is the second best team, and I don't care that they're coming from the Pac-12. I don't. Other teams I do worry, And when I say worry, I don't care what happens to them. USC, how many games did they win last year? 7, right?
Yeah.
Okay. They're going to win
8.
less.
Pardon me, 8.
They won 8 last year? Okay.
Yep.
So that 7.5 number, I get it. Yes, they'll be right around there. USC is not going to be the team that they thought they were going to be with Caleb Williams. Well, he's gone. And what's that dude's name? Not Morgan Malone.
Miller Moss.
Miller Moss, right. Morgan Malone. Miller Moss, who, by the way, had a really good bowl game. Like a really good bowl game. No, I think Oregon is yes, absolutely the biggest threat to Ohio State. Ohio State should run away with the Big Ten with the amount of talent that they have. But there are questions there. So, yeah, I'm going to say it is no doubt Oregon. Agree or disagree, Nick?
Yeah, agree. I think it is Ohio State's conference to lose just based on everything they have. And, that they should run away. I don't want to say run away with that conference. It's going to come down to that Oregon game whenever they play them. And I guess you can't overlook Michigan because that's such a big game, but we all think it's a completely different Michigan team. But I agree. The biggest threat would be Oregon to Ohio State. It's definitely not Penn State. We're kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier. I know we got to hit a break soon, but, we're looking at those rankings, and every year I feel like Penn State is another one of those teams that's up there because of their brand. But every year they come out and they disappoint. So it's definitely not going to be Penn State for sure.
Ag Engineering 12 says Pete Carroll never got suspended. There is that too. Yeah. So I don't think it'll happen, but it has happened before. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Kay Naegeli and Around Aggieland. But before we do that, let me tell you guys that the time is here for Wheels Watches Whiskey at the Stella Hotel, presented by the Gentleman Racer, and thanks to our good friends there at David Gardner's Jewelers. McLaren's also one of the proud sponsors. Curated selection of luxury Tudor timepieces from sponsor David Gardner's Jewelers. Taste the finest whiskey Texas has to offer. Experience exotic and classic cars, all while supporting a worthy cause. Visit wheelswatcheswhiskey.com/tickets to purchase tickets and learn more about this awesome event. All right, we'll be back in 2 and 2. All right, it's time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12-979-693-1150 will hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984. They got your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls, reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com and your favorites are on their way. We're about to do Around Aggieland, but let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Caitlin Torn has Coley's name ready to be pronounced exactly correct.
We've got it now. I think I have yet to go a day without a mispronunciation, so bear with me, but it is Cooley Nuu Theiu.
So not Coley, Cooley.
Cooley.
We need to clip that and just
Cooley High.
keep it repeating.
It is time for Around Aggieland, presented by Norman G. State Bank. Norman G. State Bank, rock solid banking. The website is normangstatebank.com. And we've got Kay Naegeli.
I have a lot of Aggie Olympic news for you. We had plenty of Aggies competing today, this past week. A lot is going on. So I'm going to start off with Jackson Bowshire, qualified for the 10-meter platform diving center semifinal, and that will be on Saturday at 3 a.m. if you happen to be up at 3 a.m.
It's usually when I'm waking up.
A lot of these times are going to be, you may have to catch the replays of this, but just so you know, Shamir Little and Team USA qualified for the women's 4x4 relay with the fastest time of all the heats. That final is tomorrow at 2 p.m. And then additionally, another Aggie, Bryce Dedman, qualified with the men's 4x4. That final is at 2, so you'll have Dedman at 2, Shamir Little at 2:15. Tune into both of those to watch Aggies hopefully secure gold. Brandon Miller ran in the men's 800 semifinal this morning, but unfortunately did not qualify. He finished 17th, but that was his first Olympic, so a heck of a showing there. Joni Taylor and Team USA women's basketball are in the semifinal right now. They are competing against Australia. Need to double check on that score, but if I had to guess, I'm going to guess they're up, just being Team USA. And then additionally, things to watch for today.
Did you watch Steph and LeBron?
I did. I watched the end of it. I caught that. Yeah, they were down quite a bit and just came back. Yeah, everyone was like.
I was rooting for them to win. I know people, because I'm Dream Team 1 guy. And I mean, it's not even close, let's be honest. Like
Dream Team 1.
But I didn't want them to lose. I wanted them to win, and Steph went off. It was fun. Sorry, continue.
That was awesome to see yesterday. There's been a lot of just great Team USA stories around this Olympics, just with everyone competing in track and field and basketball. It's been so awesome. And swimming, one track and field event, Fred Curley, he is competing in the men's 4x1 relay. That is today. That is at 12:47 on NBC. So please tune in, see Fred Curley run the second leg of that race. They are expecting to win gold, hopefully. And then Yasar Mohammed Tricky is competing in the men's triple jump final. That will be at 1 p.m. today on Peacock. Additionally, just want to let y'all know that soccer did have their last exhibition match last night. 1-0 against SMU. Mason Matula scored the lone goal. And additionally, Adela Cernosek is advancing to the quarterfinals of the U.S. Women's Amateur. So we will keep checking on her. Additionally, just so y'all know, men's basketball's non-conference schedule did get released this week. You can check that out on our website, and it's posted there. So,
KK, thank you very much.
Of course.
You know my friends at the Charger Apparel, Travis and Tucker, right?
I do. I see you have a really nice shirt with
Bruh, I'm about to unveil this. They just brought me a gift. I just brought
rip
everybody.
That bad boy.
They know I like hoodies.
Fitted
hoodie time.
Nice.
Let's take a look. I'll wear this in the summer. I don't care. I'll sweat.
That does.
Look at this bad
That's
boy.
The quality on that. There you go.
The gun show.
Is that a large or?
It's extra large. That's what they told me.
Gotcha.
Extra large. Medium. All right. Thank you very much, Kay. Thank you, of course, to everybody, Billy and the whole gang. That's going to do it for TexAgs Radio here on a Friday. We'll have some stuff to report. Obviously, they're scrimmaging tomorrow. Hopefully, Billy will have some insight to that on Monday. We'll see you then. Thanks so much for watching.